Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Six Invitational 2020. We've already gone down through one day here in the playoffs. Still off the main stage, and of course, Veli was here with the crew of Dev and Dev for game number 1. 3 more to go, of course, here, and our second one is yet again a bit of a banger. This one, all American, all North American in general, that is. Please, welcome back to the analyst desk. I'm Hassan Miloš-Finj. With me are two of the best in the business, of course. Everybody here is the best, which is why we're here to commentate over all of this. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Jessica Jess Bolden and, of course, Alex Dalkart Hansen, a.k.a. Zeronic. How you guys doing today?
I'm feeling good. How you feeling, Alex?
A little under the weather yesterday, still not all there, but I think the games are gonna make up for it.
It's really weird that you go to the gym for 45 minutes with Jess and instantly knocks you out.
That is true.
I'm glad you brought that up because I would have said something if no one else had said anything. Ladies and gentlemen, we went to the gym for 45 minutes, and this is the first time that Alex had ever lifted weights before, and now he is so under the weather, he was in bed all night. So
That is true.
Back in the day, he had to put the entirety of playing ducks on his back, so right now it's a bit of a different question to say that.
And I'm not the one on the stepping stool.
Yeah, you guys can't see it, but she has a pallet under her.
thanks, guys.
I'm the only one that's kind of normal, which kind of tells you a bit about this desk. So let's skip ahead to the bracket and take a look at where we are so far in the tournament. Of course, you saw TSM defeat Fnatic and move on to the upper bracket final. Right now, it's very possible that we'll have an all-North American Grand Final. That is huge. We haven't had that since 2017. I cannot wait for it if it were to happen. G2 knocked down to the lower bracket, of course, losing to Fnatic. An amazing game that we had yesterday. Highly recommend that you watch it next week once all the action is done. BDS and MIBR are a matchup later on today. As Fnatic, of course, lost to TSM, they'll be awaiting the winner of that matchup in the lower bracket. Right now, you'll lose if you're NIP, G2, MIBR, or BDS. You lose, you're out. Simple as that. Only 6 out of the 8 can make it through to the main stage. We're here, and we talked about it for just a second. All North American Grand Final. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, look, absolutely. I said this before I came all the way over to Montreal. I said a lot of the times on my streams that I am absolutely certain that we will get at least one NA team in the final. This is the year for NA, I think, and a lot of the teams are really stepping up, and I think it's both a cultural and a player-based thing that we're seeing, and it's not that EU domination anymore, and I think that's a really important factor for this event.
I mean, we're already guaranteed one NA team in the finals, and they're still on their double elim for this match coming up, so there's a really good chance, yeah.
So, yeah, of course, we talked about double elimination. If you lose once, you're still not out yet. You can still survive through the lower bracket. So that's why we were saying there's actually so many chances to have a double North American final that it would be kind of against the numbers for it to not happen. That said, I think we're ready to head into our matchup. You guys see it right behind us. DarkZero versus Spacestation Gaming. That's coming up in just a few minutes. So let's talk about the rosters and bring them up on the board. Team number 1 is DarkZero Esports, of course, with Hyper, Hot and Cold, Skies, Mint, and Eclipse. Now this team yesterday was able to defeat BDS 2-1. That was a 7-5 on border, 8-7 for BDS coming back on Consulate. Did not expect it, but ran out of steam, the Europeans. And it was a 7-2 victory for DarkZero on Coastline. Really seemed that they were in control specifically on that map.
Yeah, look, I think they took a lot of chances to use their coordination to just outskill the opponent, and I think a lot of teams are just used to outgunning the opponent, and now we've got a team like DarkZero who said, hang on, I know how to play this game at the highest level, and I don't necessarily need to be a gunner, even though they all are.
I kind of want to highlight the 17 plants on Hot and Cold. They're so extremely good at actually getting the objective done and not just playing for frags or trying to outgun, as you say, everyone. Like, there's an actual overhead plan with everything they try to do.
Yeah, and I really want to hold on to that thought because yesterday we were comparing teams and their play styles. This is going to be a bit different than what we saw yesterday. So let's bring up DarkZero's opponents. Of course, yet another North American teams, as this is an NA Invitational so far. SSG, Rampy, Thinking Nade, Volts, Bosco, and Canadian. Team again, very technical, not unlike DarkZero.
Yeah, absolutely. Not as much plants. Maybe if we can use that as one of the key comparison points here, is that there is not a lot of plants, and quite as a result, we might not see them being able to execute anywhere near as much as we'll see DZ. And the ratio of winning a round after a plant is extremely high. So if DZ keep to that tact, we might see a really good game here.
We have seen them quite a few times, though, where they're kind of on the offset of trying to go for a plant, but they decide to go for the kill to secure it because they know they have enough time and just do it by numbers instead.
Yeah.
So I don't know how big of an impact that has on their actual plants. But, I mean, as you say, win rate go up by an immense amount when you do get the plant down. So playing the objective seems to be the way to go.
Exactly, and both teams are so good at it. And as you were mentioning, Alex, it might not say that they're getting all of those plants down, but they're doing everything that allows them to go for the plant, and just most of the rounds just end up going their way. But that is the main objective, and both teams are so good at fulfilling it. That said, since we're done on this segment here in the introduction, it's time to head to a quick video recapping all things that have done and gone between these two teams before we dive in a bit deeper into the maps and the strategies.
My name is Kyle Mintlander. I play for DarkZero Esports, and I'm the IGL and captain of the team.
My name is Troy. I go by Canadian Game. I play for Spacestation Gaming.
So last game we played BDS, and we beat them 2-1. Played a little bit sloppy. I don't know if it's us just waking up a little early and not being on our game, but not completely satisfied with the win. Feel like we should have came out with a 2-0, but they are great opponents, and just hopefully we can play a little bit better in our next one.
So last game we just played MIBR. They were probably the team that we played against the most, so it was kind of unfortunate. They're more familiar with our play style and whatnot. So it was whatever though. We're confident, played our game, just made the right adaptations and prepared the right kind of style to play against them, and yeah, showed up.
Our next game is against Spacestation Gaming. This will be our first opponent from North America that we'll be facing at this event. We're very used to them, obviously playing in the same region. They're a very structured team.
Both of our teams are known to be very structured, methodical teams. So should be an interesting matchup for sure, kind of similar play styles clashing.
But we can get a little loose, and we feel like they struggle a little bit when things get a little wild on them.
I think we have a little extra something here and there that will push us over the edge and help us take the match.
Our message to Space Station Gaming is just whether who wins or who loses, we meet again. But yeah, let's put on a good show.
Only message for DarkZero is just a good old hey to my good friend Bran.
Comfortable there, Canadian. That is for sure. You can see, what is it? What is it called? What is that Pokemon called?
That looks like a new generation.
That's a
and
Gen
I'm an
2.
old school. I feel like a boomer saying that. But
That's
I'm
a
like
Gen
old...
2.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That is a Gen
Don't look at me.
I've never played?
I know what a Pikachu is, that's about it.
Okay, Mom.
Yeah, wow. Okay,
Just turn off
enough.
your DS. That said, ladies and gentlemen, yes, welcome back to the analyst desk. We are going to take a look at the maps in just a second here and dig deeper into it, but I think Canadian touched on it specifically. They're both teams that are so good at being methodical, at being tactical and technical, and this is a big clash of play styles that are very similar. And I think, as even you heard it from DarkZero, having that flexibility mid-round might be the thing that pushes one team or the other.
I'm a little bit surprised with Mint saying that they might want to go a little loose and a little wild, because I don't think that's something we ever truly see from them.
No.
So if they're gonna truly change things up and maybe play twice as fast as they normally do, or bring some different operators, that I'm not sure that's necessarily the play for them, because they've been doing so damn well, doing exactly what they have been doing so far. And I mean, sure, if you can get into the head of SSG, that it might be worth it. But I'd want to see DC just play their game and not do too much new stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's this is gonna be a major critical error, I think, is that they go in that they feel they need to change their play style because of someone else's play style and change it too dramatically. Do your game like you said, and make sure that you do what you're confident with. And I think that maybe screams possibly not being quite as confident as they were against the other opponents, which, you're right, it's SSG. They have every right to feel that way.
All right, a bit of an update on the analysis. That is a Totodile.
Of course it is.
There we go.
So there you go. Everybody has okay, boomer. That's basically the moment here. That said, let's take a look at our maps here. Again, best of 3 series, which means in our 7 map pool. That's so cute. Look at those cheeks.
I do want to grab those cheeks.
Exactly. It's a ban, pick, ban, and then the cider is map number 7. We'll have Clubhouse and Consulate removed. But first, that'll be our first pick
So the Clubhouse definitely makes sense, right? SSG, they're 15 or 16 and 0 on that map so far.
Villa map 1. We haven't seen a ton of Villa in Pro League or here at SI, so it's definitely something that fits DarkZero's playstyle. Kafe Dostoyevsky will be map 2. That's picked by SSG. Again, very technical map, requires a lot of maneuvering and self-destruction in it. Both benefit these two teams that are very technical. Border Band and leaves all in the hands of Spacestation to decide, and they'll go for Bank. Interestingly enough, as a map that DarkZero is also very comfortable on historically.
I'm really happy to see those first two bans. We obviously had a day yesterday where I was quite unhappy with a lot of the bans. I thought teams took really unnecessary risks, and obviously with the Clubhouse ban, that's obvious. If you are not confident going up against SSG on Clubhouse, just get rid of it.
Yeah,
Consulate also is a strong map for both teams. However, it's been banned over 11 times for alternate teams. So I think they both just went, yeah, we're going to get rid of this and play what we're comfortable with. So I thought that was a good ban.
The interesting thing is if we compare all three maps that are being picked right now, SSG and DC have good performance on all of them.
Yes.
So it doesn't seem like any map like massively favors one team or the other. No one really came out winning the ban phase. If SSG had gotten Clubhouse through, then it would have been a different story, right?
Yeah.
We'd heavily favor them there. One thing though for SSG is they don't really use Nomad, and DC loves Nomad.
It's true.
So that could be a free ban that they could really benefit on almost all of those maps.
And I really want to hammer that even more. Villa, Kafe, and Bank are all three maps, specifically Villa and Bank, fitting the shield play quite a bit. Something DarkZero historically has been very good and definitely never shy away from it. So Monty might be something that you should be banning as SSG, specifically on Bank if we get the decider. What do you think about it?
Sure, for the basement side, I would definitely agree, but for everything else, I think Troy alone on a pulse can do quite a lot to that Monty, because you're going to have your attack very focused, and you need a certain amount of people behind your Monty for him to have any kind of value, which limits how much control you can have below. And if you're only putting one person below to counter Canadian, that's probably not enough.
Okay, let's take a look at our head-to-head here. Selected one player from each team. Talk about them. It's Hyper and Faults. Very positive here for Hyper, but both players on opening kills. This is where we're going to be focusing. Similar styles of play. I mean, you might be seeing Faults on the Maestro. This is where you'll be collecting kills later on in the round. But between the two Zofias, the two players kind of use them in similar ways. You can kind of call them as mirrors. So having the opening kills kind of gives you a bit of a wider idea on the premise.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not a surprise to see Hyper just absolutely popping off with his frags there. He is the Zofia Jaeger main generally, and you don't see him really deviate from those roles often. Whereas obviously the Maestro there from Fultz, I think he does have the opportunity to be a really flexible player. So that would make sense why he's not always in that fragging role. So yeah, his kills are phenomenal for someone who's both a support and a frag, depending on the map.
I would really be afraid, though, of an IQ pick on Villa. We've seen both teams never shy away from it, but specifically Space Station. They've been able to so effectively corner their opponents, attacking Aviator game rooms and pushing up from red stairs, but behind them on the flank. It's so powerful to take, and Space Station have been so good at doing it. How do you even contest that flank to not lose it as a defender?
Well, there is the basement downstairs where you can leave a guy down there for a minute straight and then come up, because no one ever really clears basement proper. There's too many spaces you can hide, and if you really want to bully people, you can start, maybe jamming down there or getting a Mossy to limit the amount of drones you can get down. And you can't sit and wait on those stairs for the whole round. So flanks, Villa is probably the map where you can get that off.
And you can't use a Nomad to stop people from being able to flank. I mean, red stairs, it's almost impossible to place a Nomad that can't be shot. South stairs, much the same. You can always crawl up and be able to see all of the Nomad and air jabs. So what do? You bring a gridlock, I guess, but gridlocks can also be shot, and they're quite easy to sort of skate around, especially on red stairs. So
you'd be surprised with the quote-unquote Emberized Claymore on the red stairs.
Oh, the Emberized
yes.
Claymore. Do you think that'll work more than once, Milos?
It happened online. It'll happen here again. Closing thoughts, though, before we kick it off to the casters. Jess, what do you think for map 1?
I'm going to say SSG, just out of pure attitude, for this event.
Well, I'll jump on DC then.
Oh, let's do it.
All right. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, always jumping on things and jumping to conclusions. Who knows what'll happen in this matchup? It's map number 1, Villa, DarkZero versus Space Station. Take it away, casters.
Thank you very much, Milos, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our second series of the day. It's going to be a good one. We've got ourselves an NA Derby, finally. DarkZero going up against Spacestation Gaming. Both of these teams, and TSM included in this as well, the entire North American region for the most part, having brilliant performances so far at this event. But now, finally, one of those teams must go down to the lower bracket, and it's going to be either DarkZero or SSG. The first map is getting started right now on Villa, so let's get into it.
These two teams, both being from NA, have played against each other quite often, but the last two times that these two faced off on this map in particular, SSG went up against MIBR, winning 8-7. That was yesterday. DarkZero beat FaZe 7-3. So both of these teams' last map play of Villa, they did win, but that's definitely going to change now.
Well, we'll see on that over the next few minutes here, next 45 minutes or so. Capitao is going to be our second attacker ban knocked out of the mix. Just too much execute utility that makes the defender's job that much harder, so they are going to choose to get rid of it. DarkZero will also choose to knock out Mira as the second, or I should say first, defender ban to be eliminated. Once again, following pretty normal trends there, nothing too much out of the ordinary with that one.
Yep, Thatcher man to make offenses a little bit more difficult. Maestro banned from Spacestation, so that's going to hinder our good friend Foltz just a little bit, but he should be fine.
Echo once again being left back into the pool. It's becoming a very popular thing to do so far at this event, and has continued to do so, I think, online over the past couple of months as well. It's a much more, I think, even choice when you decide between Echo and Maestro nowadays compared to what it was before, where it was almost always the choice to leave Maestro in and get Echo knocked out. Once again, for SSG, we're going to see them start out on the first floor site, back downstairs in dining room and kitchen. They were doing similar things yesterday in their match against MIBR, but with relatively mixed results, so we'll have to see what they've adjusted, if anything, and more importantly, what DZ may have been able to latch onto from the games last night to try and leverage an advantage in this early round.
This is definitely a change-up for SSG. There's actually neither of their bans and their top bans from the regular season, at least for this season. So Thatcher as well as the Maestro, both very, very new. They've actually banned Valkyrie the most on their defensive side, and Capitao their most on their offensive side for SSG once again. So they already got the Capitao ban. DarkZero took care of that, but there's actually not a single Maestro ban that they have in their most recent history, the last 6 months, before this tournament. So again, Maestro being kind of a fresh thing, probably just trying to hinder DarkZero a little bit and just figure that Foltz can play something else.
Continuing on with that. Setup being completed over these next couple of seconds here. SSG is going to reinforce the statuary room just to try and double down on the support that they're going to provide themselves. And more importantly, double the time that it would hopefully take DarkZero in order to gain access to those parts of the map. Hypermint and a few other members of DarkZero taking the spawn closest to the master bedroom side are going to swing right up onto the balcony and start posturing up for control. A little bit of droning presence first, I would imagine.
Kitchen side for Space Station. This is something that we've seen them do regularly on this map. A lot of presence downstairs, but you still have to worry about that upstairs area as well. So we can see the Kaid of Thinking Nate sitting inside of Trophy through the wall. But as we saw from DarkZero yesterday, they do a pretty good job of acting quickly off info. Got a good amount of intel on Foltz being inside of living room. This guy's trying to figure out if he wants to go inside a bathroom or not. Gonna need some assistance here. There's actually quite a few people down low. He pre-fires and he gets Foltz. Foltz not aware of the situation. Skies with a good read.
Skies being proactive once again, starting things off right for DarkZero, as we've often been seeing from him so far in this tournament. Drone's gonna go into Astro and work its way down the stairs of the same name. Just trying to check for utility here though, as Eclipse is gonna be leaping in, just to take control for the team now as they clear things out towards Astro and get themselves ready to start moving downstairs over the next few moments here. Not before clearing out some of this floorboard though and opening up any potential top-down play.
Well, Eclipse has the scanner out, and he could possibly get some of those goo mines. The rest of DarkZero runs around upstairs with some soft destruction in hand. Hot and cold on drones. Possibly get some intel in sight to help them with this push. But as for now, he's rotating with the diffuser over to Astronomy, which currently has a lot of holes in the floor, as well as a hatch opened and a hole for rotation into Trophy. So DarkZero is mostly set up upstairs, but they still need to get in towards site. Really only area that they're pressuring currently is the top of the kitchen area. Dining just now being opened up.
Nitro Cell is going to go off. Quite a bit of explosives going off right now. Actually, it's breaching charges and a whole lot more being deployed here too. for both sides of the equation, but nothing finding its mark just as of yet. The problem for DarkZero becomes, though, they are now under a minute remaining on the clock, and well, yeah, they've got the man advantage. They aren't anywhere close to the site. They just have a lot of purview opened up onto it. They need to move quickly. We are going to see Hyper check down at the basement stairs to clear out any roam presence that's here. I believe there is one player from SSG in the area, but that would be it at the most, and they have to clear this player out due to the risk of a rotate onto them in the late round. And there's multiple positions where that player can come from. It's just too much of a risk to have to deal with. Once again, though, they are nowhere near the site, and look at the time. It's so quickly evaporating away from them. I am very seriously doubting how DarkZero are going to be able to make this round happen.
Canadian wasting so much time playing Ring Around Rosie in the basement. They misdroned him as well. If you guys saw that drone went to the left or inside, this is all an SSG round. There's absolutely no way they fight back into this. Hot and Cold does have the diffuser. Eclipse is here to try and give him some overwatch, but he's got a goo mine in his foot. Rampy's already rotated upstairs as well. SSG claim round 1 on Kitchen.
DZ taking very early control of the upstairs parts of the map, along with taking plenty of time to open up so many angles. I mean, you could see that there just on the end of round camera, the way that Rampy was able to utilize the positions that have been opened up by DZ themselves. Ultimately, however, never really able to clear out Canadian, wasted a good minute or so longer than I think they were expecting it to, and just left them with zero time to execute, leading to that very, very sloppy try at the end of the round.
It seemed like a last-ditch effort to try and rotate across the map, but it just so happened that Canadian was downstairs, so they had to deal with that just because if somebody else rotates down through the basement, Troy can possibly get a kill, and you don't want your players being picked. But Canadian played that to a T, instead just started baiting people and kept baiting them through the entire basement with information and all that kind of stuff. Just worked out really, really well for SSG. Did not allow DarkZero to make a rotation over towards red stairs or anything of the sort. So SSG will be up 1 round for the time being as we shift on over to Planes and Games.
So, into that next round we're going to go. Spacestation in the meanwhile, bringing an operator line that we would pretty much expect to be the typical one for this site. Bandit tricking is not something we see happening anymore, but you still want to try and put some resistance on the armory walls along with the 2 primary box walls on the 90 angle. The Bosco's reinforcing right now. That's why they bring the Cade in from Thinking Nade. Bigger smoke along with the Echo being pretty normal too. If it comes down to a low time situation, the Fultz can seriously cause some trouble with those drones. And Valkyrie, pretty much a mainstay on this map when it is available, so not surprised to see that from Canadian, especially on these upstairs sites.
One thing to notice is Hot and Cold is the only hard breach for DarkZero. Mind you, we are inside of action phase as well, so you're going to have to see some fine Maverick work from our dear friend on DarkZero. DarkZero going to be handling the map from north to south, starting inside of Master. Mintz worked his way on over to Twitch. Hyper still playing the Zofia. We're used to that. Pretty standard lineup as opposed to what they were just playing, so to handle this site, though, more than likely going to want some presence inside of 90 with Hot and Cold being there. Get some torch work inside of that wall, inside of the 90 area to look inside of Gunfault, cut off rotations in between the sites, then start to pressure the doors and see how many picks you can get before you get this diffuser down. More than likely the game plan for DarkZero as they just got control of Astronomy as well as Trophy.
Hyper once again scouting through, starting things off for DarkZero as he takes that little bit of control. The rest of the team following right behind him as they swing through upstairs Trophy and Statuary, the same as they did in the last one. The destination for this round, of course, going to be in a slightly different spot as they'll go for the south to north clear, take control of the map.
And just remind you, this is DarkZero's pick, folks. You can see that in the top left of your corner. It flips back and forth. Map picked by DZ. There's a logo for you, and then it switches back and forth on kind of a real thing. So if you guys are ever wondering whose map pick it is when you come in to watch the stream during this weekend, always look at the top left. It switches back and forth, and it'll let you know that little bit of information. Also, if you guys haven't been watching recently, we did do a UI overhaul, as you can see. Lots of new stuff, lots of new numbers to make sure you're paying attention to, but going down the line with the zeros, it goes kills, assists, deaths, and then that little triangle thing, that's assists and plants. As you can see, Fultz just got a kill, and now there's a 1 inside of that kill column. So there's your education for the weekend.
Fultz continuing to hold the angle at top stairs. When you see Fultz fetch himself another member of DZ trying to swing in from the study balcony. Doesn't necessarily look like they've got a whole lot primed in position to move in, though, as the large majority of their force is trying to take control from the other side of the map. The only one other player that's here looks like it's going to be Mint. Really trying to self-drone his way forward at this point. Fultz still holding that angle, but in the meanwhile, Eclipse is going to be able to find Canadian.
DarkZero's working hellaciously slow right now. They need something to give here. Frag grenades out for Skies, going towards Couch, but doesn't bag anything. Still has someone inside of Gunvault as well. Spacestation playing this to a T right now. There's not much that they really need to do. Just hold down the doors and get in these gunfights with DarkZero, just like Rampy's doing with Mint. Ends up winning out that. A quick peek from Fultz, who's playing the top of main stairs, claims Hyper. That's going to be a double kill for him on the round. DarkZero pushing finally with 5 seconds left, but SSG is very quick to the trigger, and it's once again going to be an SSG round. DarkZero having a lot of trouble right now on these offenses, moving very slow as opposed to what we saw them moving pace-wise yesterday.
Yeah, despite that, Eclipse doing some pretty good work with the entry capability, trying to open up some angles for his team. He finds both of the kills, the only kills I should mention, for DZ on that round, but ultimately once again failing to give themselves the time needed for an execute and just not really enough courage to commit themselves to the push upstairs at the end of the day. Now going to be shifting over to Trophy Stature as SSG will try to complete their third and final sight on the rotate before they work their way back down into Kitchen. We do have a Cav pick coming in from Rampy here, although it's yet to be seen as, yes, it will be 6 picked out as you commonly expect and head over towards a Mute. We'll also see one brought in by Skies as he'll change the sledge out to a Jackal.
You say it's common, but we actually see Cav quite often. Like when she's actually picked.
Yeah.
Like if a team if a team's gonna stick to her, you'll get the 6 picks in, right? But like most of the time it'll be like, all right, yeah, well, you think we're gonna 6 pick off of this, but then there's an actual Caveira. It's not fun. Plus also Caveira plays really well into Jackal. She's just a nuisance character. That's really what she is. She's there to annoy you. And she's also there to prey on people that are by themselves. If you are by yourself and there's a Cav on the map, you need to find a friend. Otherwise, she's more than likely getting a lot of intel for free. Rampy is at 5 kills right now through 2 rounds, so putting the team kind of on his back. But we do still have some stragglers with some extra frags, as well as Troy Canadian. Has 3 assists, but he's on the cardiac sensor with the pulse, so is trying to get as much intel as possible. We also saw him practically win SSG their first round. You don't need kills to do that. He just wasted a lot of time in the basement.
He can try to pull off some similar moves here going on to this side. Is it more than likely will be a similar approach route for DarkZero as they'll try to take control of Master to walk in or potentially try to swing up through Astro Stairs before moving in. There's a couple other ways they can approach it as well, so I'll hold my tongue before we see more of DarkZero's actual strategy. But yep, we've got Canadian on that roam. He is being tracked down pretty efficiently by Skies' drone at the moment though, so Canadian may not be as well hidden as he potentially believes.
Bosco rocking the extended barrel reflex on the 416C. Gun recently got a nerf. Used to do a little bit more damage, but now it's down to 38 if I can pull that from direct memory, maybe 39. But either way, it's not as potent as it once was. Still a very good rifle though. Enjoyed by a lot of fans around the world. DarkZero, south to north this time instead of north to south, just because of the sight change here. Not going directly to Master, which honestly might work out for them, but it looks like Spacestation was set up for this originally. You can see some mute jammers and other things thrown about on the other side of the map. So DarkZero for the time being, trying to get some intel downstairs. They're going to find a Kaid with the Jackal track from Skies. Trying to work their way through the basement. No one down here this time, but they're still worried just because Canadian is on that pulse, and the last time that they had to deal with the basement, he was down here.
Hyper once again maintaining his position at top red. Trying to work on the drone intel a little bit here, I believe. And Eclipse potentially opening up the angle for his team to play into. Does pop open the Astra window, takes care of the default cam just on the inside. No further action being taken by him at this point, however. We'll just retreat back further onto the roof. Now we shift over to Houghton. He's trying to do pretty much the same thing that we saw his teammate doing a second ago, but over in Master. And where did this come from? Skies, out of nowhere, picks up a double kill, potentially on these back stairs here. Yep, both players try to swing down to push into him, and that leads to the death of Rampy and Canadian. Very well played by Skies, playing solo at the moment on that Jackal track.
We have a rappel up to Astronomy window that could possibly have a counter from SSG. Bosco's sitting there, but now it's utility in and utility out. Utility burn and utility traded. Thinking nade though, definitely not getting any trades on some kills as SSG lights up the scoreboard. It's all down to Eclipse and hot and cold in this 2 versus 3. Diffuser down inside a statuary. Toxic Babe going off on the bathroom door into Master. Still have plenty of angles here for SSG as they're just waiting for DarkZero to make their move, and it'll be Hot to make it first as he pushes into sight. An immediate refrag from Fultz, but it's not Hot until the second kill and the second burst from the SMG-11 that claims Space Station. They're 3 rounds in a row.
So despite that great opener from Skies, comes in relatively late into the round, the team still does not have enough manpower to breach the setup for SSG. SSG not even needing to do a whole lot here, just their anchor setups consistently tearing apart DZ. And it seemed like it was an issue of time in the past 2 rounds, but now it happens with plenty of excess. And still, the job is done just as good by SSG's players in the site. Well done from them as they'll now maintain a 3-0 lead over DZ, who are seriously struggling to find any impact here on their attacking side of Villa.
This is very troubling. This is more than likely why you're seeing the Mute Mozzie Vigil combo there come out so that Rampy can be more impactful on those roams. DarkZero's been a good job of getting intel off of their drones, but they haven't been too impactful with it. Good thing to highlight, though, is we do have Eclipse for the very first time in this game grabbing the Dokkaebi. More than likely trying to speed some things up with those logic bombs. Also, Dokkaebi recently got frag grenades a couple of months ago, so make sure to watch for those if Eclipse is able to pick up any kills. But for SSG, they're letting DZ set pace, and DZ's pace is very slow right now. So instead of trying to get extremely aggressive towards DarkZero, what SSG is doing is just playing closer to site, winning their gunfights, and letting DarkZero waste that first 2.5 minutes trying to actually get towards execution.
No pause yet from DarkZero either, so we'll have to see if they've figured things out on their own or are still going to be continuing in the way that they've been approaching these rounds for the last 3 now. It would be very, very dangerous indeed, as Space Station has taken them with relative ease. Got players from DarkZero spawned out and onto the field once again. Going to see quite a few of them go up to repel really quickly, and I would imagine same opener as they'll take control of Master Bathroom and Bedroom, looking to take that control. Skies back on the sledge seems to indicate that once again they will go for the top-down control, which will give them the view they need to try and push players out of Space Station. Unfortunately, that did not really work as well as they would have hoped the last time they attempted this, so we'll see if there's going to be any change-up to the overall strat. One thing I think is going to be the Dokkaebi coming in, which we have that in the first round. Doesn't look like we did. No, we did not.
Nope, this is the first time that Eclipse has played Dokkaebi, otherwise he has been playing IQ. So, DarkZero matchup shouldn't be as difficult as it's been going for them so far. Remember, folks, this is an inter-region matchup. This is almost the most comfortable you can get on LAN. You're playing against somebody that you play against regularly. You know all the guys across from you. If there's a time to be comfortable while you're at a tournament, the time is now. These are people that you see almost every single week.
And it seems as though Space Station is the one that is thriving in that comfortability, at least for the time being. See Eclipse just go for the quick rotate once again, going to be taking care of someone who is going to be hiding in the back of Astro, trying to chuck the nade in. A little bit dangerous, but he does get some damage off on the thinking nade. You'll note Canadian's position, though. He is scanning upstairs to try and catch some of these players, but nonetheless, Houghton is going to start things off with Canadian's death himself. He'll get taken out. Another player will be spotted on the mute. Bosco will be seen, and that may be the angle that DarkZero themselves have to peer down on a few of these players and why they were able to take out Canadian.
Good decision there from Skies, looking to see if he had an opening to just walk directly in from Laundry, but he definitely did not. Even though the logic bomb was going off, Bosco only had to breathe on Skies and he would be dead. DarkZero now has top control once again, but we've seen this before. The last time we were here, they rotated all the way downstairs trying to tussle with Canadian, who just wasted a ton of time and they were not able to get their execute down on site. Rampy's already rotated all the way across the map. He's currently coming up main stairs, as well as Thinking Nate, who's currently on red. DarkZero had the opener. They're trying to go for 2 here. Eclipse has gotten lit up, though. Fultz docking himself up as a frag grenade pours in. Tries to peek through, but the shift key prevails, and Fultz makes it back into kitchen.
Piper holding the angle so that his teammate Houghton can open up the hard wall that sits in between their position at the stairs and the site just beyond the wall. The job's been done. They've gotten it open. Now where's the follow-up? As once again, time going to be incredibly low. It seems as though they have a great amount of drone intel to execute upon this. Eclipse is going to be able to catch out Fultz, eliminating him first. Hyper is next to follow it up with the elimination of Rampy. However, here's the turnaround. Thinking Nade and Bosco both striking. Thinking Nade sneaking past the drone at red a little while ago and maintaining this position. Less than 10 seconds left. Where's the response from DarkZero? There it is, as Thinking Nade and Bosco finally fall. And DarkZero get themselves onto the board after 3 consecutive rounds from their opponent.
That was scary for DarkZero, low on timer, but a round is still a round. And yes, that is a Totodile sitting there. I think we have to disown Gassan, honestly. I don't think that...
Totodile.
Totodile.
Interesting way to pronounce it.
Down in Africa. Totodile. Lost the reins. Anyways.
We'll give him slack for it later.
How do you not know Gen 2?
To be fair, I didn't know it either.
Are you serious?
Yeah, but I also didn't really...
Oh my
I didn't
God.
play Pokemon either.
Where is your guys' childhood?
I'm just joining in on the fun more than anything.
You guys are disgusting. You disgust me. All right, well, Canadian going to continue this massive carousel of operators as he's going to be picking up Valkyrie this time. He's already shifted through quite a few, actually played Pulse twice. He also played Legion, Valk, so he's just stuck with these mainstay 3 for the time being. Going back to planes and games, though. Once again, if you guys are wondering, like, Stokes, why are you calling it planes instead of aviation? Well, the reason for that is there's planes on the ceiling, and also it's a lot smaller word. That's usually how you do things inside of competitive games. You want to get to that one syllable, or there's even some stranger ones where they break it up in quadrants and all that kind of stuff. Heard everything under the sun when it comes to comms for how people break down maps, but that's usually the best way is, what can we get for this room that is one syllable? That's why you call it planes.
All right, well, into the round we will go once again in just a second here. DarkZero will have their second to last attempt on attack to try and make some impact and equalize the situation. They can still bring it back, of course, and tie us up at 3-3, which would make this an incredibly even affair. The question really is, have they truly read it into Space Station, or is the drone until they had in the last round just enough in order to allow them to squeak through and pull off those entries? Remember, a few players were missed. That's how we saw those last couple of turnarounds come in from SSG that almost allowed for them to pick up that round and continue on flawless at what would have been a 4-0 scoreline. So DarkZero still needing to be a little bit cautious about how they approach their attacks.
Plenty of roaming here from SSG. Gonna have 2 members off-site. I believe that's Fultz inside of 90 as well. So Canadian all the way downstairs trying to waste some time. Bosco, Rampy, and Thinking Nade on site duty for the time being. This is a full south take here from DarkZero. As you can see, every single member droning and doing some work. Hot and Cold already inside of study as he works his way in towards main. Clip's currently on cams right now. You can see this beautiful cam work. Hyper currently on the camera inside of long towards bar, but that camera's going to get shot from Fultz all the way down the hallway. Now Hyper is going to know that he's there. Rampy's worked his way up red. You can see all the intricacies coming out now. Hot and Cold almost getting nitro celled, but behind a wall. Now he's on a cam as well. Mint going to shift over so Hot and Cold can start going for this wall. Stun grenades in, just to make sure there's no any ADSs. Mint gonna work his camera into the corner inside of planes as well. This is just masterfully done so far. Sky's underneath, has frag grenade, so he could kill somebody. Thinking Nade actually on top of the bar, trying to get the best angle he can through those melted holes that Hot and Cold are forcing into that reinforced wall on bar.
Hot and Cold definitely opening up some angles for his team to play into here, and hopefully opening up the wall. Thinking Nade's gonna try to strike back, but no damage connects onto Hot, let alone anyone else from his team. SSG. Now the wall exposed, DarkZero have a path into the site. Nade will go and swing past one of the members of Space Station, but will fail to find any major impact. And meanwhile, DarkZero will, yes, they have the wall open. They still have about 20 to 30 seconds of safe time to set themselves up before they are truly rushed to make this execute. So they will try to get a few more players into 90 and clear that out for themselves before committing to the inside. Hyper trying to make a push down the 90 hallway, in through the side game's doorway, but failing to find the confidence to do that. The setup looks relatively clear. If he moves quickly enough, he will be able to get in. In the meanwhile, though, Fultz was dropped at the 90 angle, but Rampy's gonna move in. Not only saves his teammate's life, but downs Eclipse in the process. At Space Station now gonna stay up with a full man advantage.
TCSG goes wild, but Hot and Cold capitalizes. Diffuser down behind the bar now as he gets traded by Bosco inside of Gun Vault. Rampy's got a long angle with some torch holes inside of the wall into study. This could possibly thwart all of their plans. Sky's gonna walk right into some fire, but it's all pistols now for Rampy. Hyper shuts him down all the way from Gun Vault. Bosco grabs a man pushing in from study. Shotgun in hand, but it's still a 1 versus 2. Not very much time, no diffuser in hand. Mint can't possibly plant, and Space Station Gaming making a statement on this defense.
Once again for DarkZero, just nowhere near enough safe room to execute, let alone none of the site really being cleared out prior to them making the decision to go in. So they blindly execute, well, not blindly, but they try to brute force their way through off of the drone intel and any observations that they may have had from their player perspective. And just like the other rounds, it's really not enough to get them into the site. SSG playing very close to the chest and waiting down the round. Even that time getting a little bit more proactive and failing in it in one regard there, with Fultz getting down, but having another teammate coming in to bail the team out. putting them in a much better spot to be able to trade that out at a 5v4. And once again, just a lackluster execute from DZ at low time.
Well, we are going to have Rampy 6 picking off of the Mozzie. That's something they've been bringing a decent amount between Thinking Nade and Rampy. Twice on their defensive halves, so a good 6 pick away to Legion. Just trying to slow down this offense even more. Definitely could work, because that's going to provide a lot for Mint to do with that IQ, a lot of heavy lifting for him. Look at all those electronics on the defense, and he also has to worry about Canadian, his pulse. Again, very full plate for him in this very next round. Although they are still down to just one hard breacher, Hot and Cold, still the only hard breach that they have brought this entire game. No double hard breach through any of their rounds. He's just been switching back and forth between Habana and Maverick. He also obviously has a diffuser being that hard breach, but this is going to be a lot of work for him. You could see on the other side that Fultz was breaking up the wall, which can sometimes mess with the torch a little bit, as well as some other hard destruction properties with the wall. Sometimes you can't set exothermic charges down on it if it's broken properly as well in certain areas, and you actually have to clean up the wall so you can actually set the exothermic charge. There's a bunch of different ways, but hey, that's how things go inside of this game. DarkZero now, though, droning out Master. More likely going to go for a more forward attack this time, as opposed to what they went for the last time, where they did a south to north clear and just ended up losing because of timer.
Speaking of that timer, it's already down about a minute from its original starting point. DarkZero do have some presence just on the outside of Master, getting ready to jump in here, potentially take control, but no, further away, closer to the Red Stairs Hall. Canadian still on that roam down from the basement, is able to swing up from bottom red, finds the pick on Hyper, and takes out the Zofia from the side of DarkZero.
Great play there from Canadian with that initial kill onto Hyper, then immediately rotates all the way to Library. So, awesome play from him. Rest of DZ, though, still waiting upstairs to try and get any intel. They have to worry about that mid-floor still. There's still plenty of roamers. Canadian still has a nitro cell. Hotten's trying to make some angles in towards bathroom to play towards astronomy. Just not too much going on for DarkZero right now. You only see very minimal drone games. Sky's downstairs trying to find something to force these guys on. Nitro Cell goes off, but actually Hot and Cold's taking a little bit of damage from bullets, as well as an electrified wall in front of him. Nitro Cell didn't do too much. Hot and taking some more damage as well. DarkZero is still just sitting inside of Master. Could force themselves forward, but it's actually going to be Thinking Nade that pinks first, and Eclipse to kill him.
Finds the trade from the lost teammate earlier. Phone call going out. Canadian's not too worried about it, though. He feels safe on his roam up through the back stairs and into Astro's steps over these next few moments. Absolutely no one popping up on that cardiac sensor, and he will hand that information off to his teammates. He's still seeing Hot and Cold work to get open the Master wall to allow the team to sneak through. There's that little bit of top-down destruction. I'm unsure if it goes all the way through, but in the meanwhile, Hotton is going to push himself to the inside, finds the default plant angle. Eclipse, in the meanwhile, is just going off. Another double for him to make it 3 on the round before finally getting shut down by Fultz. Brings it into a 3v2 situation. Canadian completes the rotate. His fire on the initial duel versus Mint is going to fail to take him out. Mint's now going to back up. They're the team on defense at this point. He'll rotate over, I believe, towards these Maverick angles. Canadian's smart enough to realize that, but playing this game, it's going to take too long to figure out an answer. He's going to have to move first, and he does. Picks up the kill, but Hot and Cold is ready in his post-plant angle to trade that right back out. Nice spray from Fultz. Doesn't even need to scope in for it. He's going to trade one down, looking for one more to end it, but no, Sky is getting the better of it. It's a battle of SMG-11s to end the round, and DarkZero wins it out.
SAS on SAS, but Skies comes out on top, and what a great plant there from Hot and Cold, especially with that torch work inside of the wall. Made a very long line to establish some lines of sight through those rotations for astronomy, as well as the little split doors there in between trophy and statuary. That makes that big hole so you can crawl through it and get a diffuser down next to the bomb chest. He didn't have very much going for them either, and they were still able to get that diffuser down just because they force SSG off of statuary. If Thinking Nade doesn't overextend himself there, that round could be completely different. But a decent split, honestly, when it comes to Villa. This map is defender-sided, so a 4-2 split, again, not too shabby for DarkZero.
The Ela being 6-picked in as we head into the very first round of DarkZero's defense, whereas they will play into the first floor sites, same as Spacestation did back at the beginning of this map itself. So back in the kitchen one more time. See how DarkZero fares on the defensive side. Like we said, we did have the 6 pick to bring Skies in with the Ella, so interesting to see how that gets played. Hot and Cold will take Canadian's role on the Pulse, trying to roam more than likely in basement and causing delay for the SSG attack. But as we saw in that last half, SSG thriving in that environment. I'm certain that they have a good idea about how to deal with it themselves and, more importantly, counter it out to find Hotton, eliminate him quickly, and open up an attacking angle more quickly than we saw DarkZero being capable of doing.
DarkZero, pretty decent setup. I like this pick of Goyo here from Mint, especially for the kitchen site. Fantastic with these shields. So many areas that you could really use some extra cover or just some extra delay and allowing the offense to get some space. I like that pickup. Hot and Cold as well on the Pulse. You can get so much intel on this site. Usually everyone's attacking from that eastern side where you see Thinking Nade right now. So Hot and Cold gonna get a lot of bang for his buck there. But Bosco's gonna be the first one dead. That's Jackal. We actually saw Bosco be very impactful in their game yesterday, but not before Skies just tears his head off. And make sure to tell you exactly how Ella's standing these days.
Nice find from Skies. Rampy is going to move in with some drone support from Canadian to try and trade that out, even with Fultz's drone in the area as well. But nothing to be spotted. Skies is long gone. Yeah, he lost half the HP from that fight, so no reason for him to stick around and continue to play aggressively as long as he has a choice in the matter anyway. Fall back, play closer to the site. He can still roam close to that site and act as a kind of early warning signal for the rest of the team, but trying to take an extended roam is not really in the cards for him anymore. He's done his job, and more importantly, he's taken out the one who would stop him from doing it.
Well, for SSG, they have decent pressure downstairs, have Rampy in deep towards site. Rampy trying to get the basement open as well now. No DarkZero members currently downstairs, so that's going to be a free rite of passage for Rampy if he does get that intel from the drones that are currently circling. But he's already been cardiac censored out by Hot and Cold. That's why those bullets flew through the wall. More than likely, otherwise it could just be a random pre-fire. You got a lot of bullets inside of Rainbow Six Siege, so you can always just shoot randomly when you think somebody is roughly around that area. You might be surprised about the amount of kills that you get. Fultz sees some bullet holes all the way inside of Astronomy, but this area has already been abandoned. This is a ghost setup upstairs right now. Stun grenades pour inside of the pantry that Thinking Nade's currently working with, but again, they've already expended 2 minutes and they haven't seen a single person, all except for Skies, who killed Bosco. And as we all know, dead men tell no tales, well, all except for this game where you can still call from cameras.
Time getting low now. SSG inching closer and closer to Delta time, and they have to fall in for the execute, and that may be the siren call to get things started. Fultz with a nice find through the top floor wards is going to be able to take out Eclipse. On the other side, we do have a Nitro cell position just in front of these players, and that's holding them back slightly. Nice swing from Hotton is going to be able to take out Rampy, and following that up, Hyper will find his kill on Thinking Nade. Nice shot in midair coming out from Fultz, stops the Nitro Cell from killing. And the problem is, there's another angle established by Mint on the other side. And while the players from DZ are aware of it, they'll be able to swing in, counter their own positions out from their opponents, and take the round versus SSG to put them up on the board here for their defensive half.
Came down to gunfights, and DarkZero was gunslinging. As you guys saw, Hot and Cold. A little hot after that round there. So they start to bring things back. They need one more round to tie it. And again, this is Villa, defensive-sided map. For it to be your map choice, you're more than likely looking to your defensive side in order to win the map overall. That was DarkZero's first one. If they're able to string these together, though, this could be very damaging for SSG, because SSG is falling into the very similar ruts that DarkZero was. They're getting some map pressure, a decent clear, but there's a little burst of speed from the defense, and then they slow down to almost a screeching halt until they finally get a pick on site, but then that's not nearly enough. They don't have any walls open, there's not too much vertical angles being worked, nothing along those lines. Then SSG just has to try and funnel in through doors and gets chewed up.
So over into Aviation and Games now for the next site. As DarkZero look to continue to rack up the counter. More like they're going to rotate over in a trophy statue after this if it is a success. But no guarantees on that. Spacestation still bringing a similar lineup to the table. The two anti-roamers, Thinking Nade and Bosco, both going to be on the Jackal and Nomad respectively. A little bit of hard breach there from Canadian to open up the walls and give them extra angles to play with if things get a little bit tight, which is what we saw an issue of from before. But we'll note the DarkZero tried to use Maverick to get this job done, whereas Spacestation is using Hibana to do it.
little bit easier, but the issue is now is that Mint is up. That's Kaid. Those Electro Claws actually have a faster timer on them than the X-Kairos do from Habana's X-Kairos. So the Electro Claws can actually get all of those if SSG makes a misstep. And they also do not have 2 hard breachers. So if Canadian expends all of that utility, SSG is dead in the water for that time being. But we'll have to see how they're going to implement that. They have switched Rampy over to Buck. The very first round, he was actually on Sledge. So I want to try and give him probably something that is a little bit more potent. Because currently, right now, Rampy is the top fragger for SSG.
You're going to see air jabs getting deployed here by Thinking Nate. He'll block off the primary Red Hall approach towards front lobby, prevent anyone from DarkZero on, well, roaming in that direction and taking them out of the fight. You'll note that Hotton, of course, is switched away from the pulse, so we don't have that active basement roam coming in on this round. It will be there in a different shape, though, either in the form of skies or eclipses or roam somewhere else on the map. But Space Station now prepped up on the study balcony, getting ready to move into the room of the very same name. Rampy having opened up some of the floorboards down below the study to try and finish out their opponent's positions, but so far no luck on that regard, and having to be a little bit cautious now, as he does hear the floorboards getting ripped up by his opponents, which could potentially lead to his death if he's not careful here.
This is why you see Buck get banned very often on Border, is because of maps like this, where there's a lot of soft destruction on a site that's on the second floor. You're able to break up all that flooring underneath. He's one of the best in the business when it comes to that, and arguably the best soft destruction in the game. That's exactly why Rampy's using him in this fashion. You're able to make all of those holes, make things very difficult for people to move around. Hot and Cold trying to fight back, but right now it seems to be the battle of who can break up the floor more as X-Kairos are going off, but Mint's going to be quick to Electro Claw those. Can we check that utility real quick? I want to see how many he used there. He used just 1, so that's an important thing to notate. He's going to go for the opposite wall this time, but I believe Mint is going to hear it. He is. Electro Claw out. Let's see here. Nope, they should be going off. Yep, they are actually going off on 2 separate ends. We're going to have one on bar and one on the opposite side here. So we're going to have 2 angles peering inside now as we're working the hallway. Have lines of sight into Gun Vault, so they actually just both set them up on the west side of the bar. Concussion's pouring in, but since it's so close, he's actually going to concuss himself as well, but not before Foltz puts a bullet inside of Hotton. And all of a sudden, SSG has plenty of map control in order to get this execute off, but there's still a lot of remaining members of DarkZero inside. Jaeger gets traded out 2v3 in favor of SSG. They're putting the diffuser down right now. Canadian currently at 2 seconds. Mint gets a pistol with the Han Solo of all guns here. Diffuser's going to go down. It's going to be Hyper down, so Mint in a 1 versus 2, excuse me. Still using the secondary pistol. What a shot, and he can get up Hyper now to make this a 2 versus 1. Still has plenty of time, can work those yokais, and that's immediately what Hyper's going to jump on. He can rotate this and try and find something. Mint with 2! Oh my god! You're not supposed to be able to do that! I'm going to have to say it again. Kyle Landry, what in God's name is that?
Man, SSG are stupefied by what just happened.
Oh, man. That's why you know what Totodile is.
I love how we cut to DZ and Hot was like already stood up, like, what's up? What's going down?
What's
you
going,
know how that
gamers?
pistol works.
Dude, that was
Welcome to the show.
That's not supposed to happen.
I am your host. Pistol with a scope on it.
Guys, that's scripted. There's no way. Like, I have the script right here. It's not even there. I don't understand. I wasn't ready for that.
That was impromptu.
Oh my.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, DarkZero is officially back into this game now after that, tying us up at 4-4 and sending us over to a living room library. Oh, they're going to bypass the second upstairs site completely. No trophy statuary needed for DarkZero. They're going to try their luck at living room, which is usually the least played site in this map.
I'm just still blown away by the fact that he hit both of those shots.
And one shot on both of them.
That is so impressive. That pistol is so terrible as well.
Oh my goodness.
I want you guys to realize, if you guys don't play Rainbow Six very much, that pistol has such a ludicrous amount of recoil that if he missed that first shot on that guy's head, he doesn't get a follow-up shot. There's no way. You're dead. So, oh man. Wow. Mint's such an impressive player, but he's going to go away from the TCS G12 and the secondary pistol with the scope. I like to call it the Han Solo pistol because it looks like something out of Star Wars.
It kind of does, yeah.
It really does. One of my friends actually brought that up to me like a couple of weeks ago, and now I can't get it out of my head. They just really can't. But for DarkZero, they're actually going downstairs to a living room, which means you have to play this upstairs where you currently see Eclipse and Hyper. This site is all about that vertical control, so that's what SSG's first plan of attack is. Clear out the top floor, try to get some pressure over on the 2 DarkZero members, possibly get some kills, and make sure to watch your head while you're doing so.
So the drone work being done relatively quickly by Spacestation. They know that timing has been an issue for both them and DarkZero so far in this map, with the team just not really having an adequate enough time to execute. Spacestation has looked a little bit more comfortable, I think is the right word to use, in their executes when compared to DarkZero's own attacks, but still are having just as much trouble getting the job done due to either the clutch factor or these hard lock positions from DarkZero, which are used enough to either deny the plant and bring us to a timer situation, or just outright find the kills from those hard hold spots. Spacestation now in, though, taking good control over here towards Trophy and Statuary, and are going to start the north-south clear. Hopefully clear out Thinking Nade and anyone else that might be joining, or excuse me, not Thinking Nade, that might be joining the DarkZero players that are currently holding upstairs here on the inside of Gunvault.
Just gonna be brutally honest. Up until that moment, I was like, oh, this game's, you know, it's pretty fun. I'm having a decent time. That just made me sit forward in my chair. I'm just so ready to see what now happens between these two, because in NA, when people start to pop off, the other team just feels like they have to outdo them. They have to be flashier, and that's just something that could possibly happen, and I'm here for it. I'm definitely here for it. Minute and 18 seconds left for Spacestation to get this offense going here. Plenty of pressure bearing down on the upstairs area. If I can get my words in front of me here. Do still have that cardiac sensor down low, and that's going to be a mainstay thing here for DarkZero on this site. They need this to work out from Skies to try and give them all of these angles, because right now Fultz has established a very wide angle here into the upstairs area, but Skies from down low actually gets the first kill. That's Bosco once again getting picked. That's the second time on this offensive half that he's been first blooded. Just not able to find very good footing with that. Rampy's actually worked his way into Gunvault, gets his kill onto Eclipse, so no more smoke for this round. 35 seconds, frag grenade in. Rampy's gonna get a double now. SSG's taking over all of the top floor, but only 30 seconds left. They need to find some space to put a diffuser down here.
Continuing to run the timer down, like you said, time. That's always been the issue in this game. It's been the same thing for both teams. So many rounds ending just as a result of time here. There's going to be another problem too. Sky still in position. Does have that air jab moving off, but he doesn't want to shoot it. He'll give away his position. Swings in just short enough to try and not trigger the air jab, and it works, but only ends up in a 1-for-1 trade. Thinking Nade was able to take out Skies. Fultz also found Houghton. Mid with the lineup, though, is going to waste the rest of this timer. Takes out Thinking Nade, runs away to find the last one, and Spacestation end up closing it out at the end of the day due to Fultz getting that very close to low time kill.
Oh, Fultz. Is this just the day of pistols? Are we just going to start having everyone pistol whipping each other?
The day of every round ending on like 0 timer is what it's becoming as well.
This is ridiculous. Well, DarkZero with the timeout, as you guys can see on your screen. Brandon Carr, BC, has the mic down, talking to the team, trying to get them re-center, re-energized. And they might need that, especially after that pistol whip there from Fultz. Wasn't the craziest kill, but again, when you have a full-on primary weapon and you lose to a pistol, you're never really happy about it. Living room, though, was their off-site. They already went through their 2 sites that they wanted to play initially, which would be Plains Games, Statuary, Trophy. Now they're shifting things on over to go back to the rotation, though. Let's see if DarkZero can set things up. Well, excuse me, actually, Kitchen Dining the first time. I went through the standard one, not what DarkZero played. Apologies on that. But Kitchen Dining in the Aviator Games Room. So they could always go over to Trophy if they really wanted to. They've, at this point, can almost hit every single site if they so choose. Right now, we're locked into Dining Room Kitchen, so it looks like this is going to be their rotation throughout this entire map. As BC throws the mic up, and we should be getting back into things shortly.
I think it's still a possibility for us to potentially see the Trophy Statuary coming, not necessarily now, but after they rotate through the first 2 sites they've already claimed a victory on. Once again, that may be the option that they go towards to try and actually get the W here for themselves.
All the elite skins, but Skies is going to mess it up. Goes over to Valkyrie. Valkyrie's elite. Actually, out. Cameras are a little bit too hard to see when you're on that elite skin, so can't play that one. Also, you can't play Twitches because her Twitch drones are, it's either the hitbox or the color. I can't exactly remember what that was.
I thought it was the sound.
Is it quieter? Is that what it is?
I think it's like it's like significantly quieter than.
I never used any of the skins that are practically cheating inside of the game. So I like Ember Rise skins, never use them, never bought them. Like I do use. Okay, all right, I'll take that back. I use the Halloween skin for the head of Jaeger, which is like the tiniest hitbox you can possibly get. It's actually, because he's literally got a skeleton head.
Yeah.
So it's super tiny. Maybe I am a terrible person. I just won't admit it. That might be a thing.
Yeah, that could be it.
Thanks, Blue. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Into round 10 now, though. Spacestation Gaming finding their first offensive round onto the attack on a living room library after DarkZero just did not have enough in the tank to stave off the SSG assault upstairs. Wasted plenty of time, but Fultz was still able to get the pistol kill in the end in that 3 versus 1, which really wasn't winnable for DarkZero because SSG had all of that map control in order to get a diffuser down. SSG now, though, as they will be attacking Kitchen. Are actually going to be starting all the way across the map, so this is going to be a very long clear. Make sure you guys are paying attention to that clock up there right in the middle. They want to be in towards site with around 45 seconds left just to try and bait out any left utility by the anchors, specifically Mint with those smoke grenades. That's what you're always looking to try and get rid of early on. Otherwise, you can delay 30 seconds of your time, and that is a lot of time when it gets down to those low seconds.
With time continuing to tick away. The first minute of the round already pretty much gone for Space Station to try and inch themselves closer to that attack. Folks, though, working on the clear upstairs. There is some resistance from DarkZero, but it's much closer towards Astro and the other areas of the upstairs part of the site that are away from the Aviation game side that SSG has already taken control of for themselves. It'll be a little bit precarious here for Bosco as he swings up onto the rappel. Should be Hot and Cold or potentially one other player from DarkZero in the area, but it seems with the threat of that rappel, they did not want to stick around. So a member of DarkZero has retreated. And now we've got Statue and Trophy opened up, at least partially, for Space Station to take control of. Hot and they're continuing the hunt with that Nitro Cell and the Cardiac Sensor. He's going to be able to line himself up a very juicy kill against Rampy.
Well, that's going to be Sledge out for the round, most of the soft destruction, but obviously we still have bolts that can be used with his impact grenades. Air jab's down now, though. Just trying to prevent any rotations from happening. DarkZero in a pretty good spot right now. Plenty of utility, not too much time for SSG to do anything, but obviously a minute can make it work. Fultz actually with 10 kills right now, being pretty impactful throughout this round. He's on average going to have 1 kill per round if he doesn't get any more until this one ends. Barbed wire down for Canadian. Could get aggressive though, but no, he's going to choose to use his X-Kairos on the wall. No one to prevent him from doing so, all except for Eclipse, but you have to have the mute jammer down before they're set off, so those are confirmed. Open up the laundry wall into dining. Only 35 seconds left now though. DarkZero still all up. All 5, no damage done, but some intel now. Hot and Cold's works his way into pantry. Nobody downstairs for SSG, so shouldn't be seen any crazy attempts to flank into sight. Bosco knows that somebody could be contesting the stairs, but M590 will sell Bosco's soul. Hyper with a nice shot as well onto Fultz. Canadian dies. It's all left up to Thinking Nate, who gets one. Doesn't have diffuser in hand though, just has to go for frags instead. Doesn't see the man inside of Laundry, and I don't even assume that either of them know that each other are there until Hot and Cold finally looks right. DarkZero equalizes, and this really feels like we're probably going into overtime.
It's certainly feeling as though that's the case. A little bit of an awkward duel at the end there, of course, between Hotton and Thinking, but Hotton, certainly with the superior angle, is going to be able to get the win on that one. And same issues as before. Players on DZ just continuing to hold, and actually, it's the players that wrap up through red in the late round there. The great play from DZ that destabilizes the hit from SSG, detaches it far too much, and just leaves no valid room for them to work their way in without, running into a bunch of angles that'll lead to their deaths. DZ just too strong of a position there towards the end of the round, and SSG with no options but near suicide in order to get themselves in. We do see the 6-pick happening as they're going to hide the Thermite, interestingly enough. Not something you see happen super often, but just trying to throw their opponents off a little bit in the hope that they may be able to sneak a successful wall destruct off, especially considering that we're going back over here towards games and planes.
Yeah, last time DarkZero was here, they ended up winning it. Let's check the lineup just to see if they made any changes. They did, actually. They dropped the Echo away from Hyper. Hyper's now on mute. They didn't bring that last time either, so that would only be the newest addition. Probably just to try and stop any of these early attempts to try and get inside. They're going to have Rampy go downstairs and actually get these mute jammers because they do not have that Thatcher since Thatcher was banned. So a good pickup here from DarkZero to use those mute jammers just to delay some more time. They are on the walls. Obviously, they can get fragged out. The Skies has some ADSs probably set up to avoid that from happening. So DarkZero on full delay here. Just going to see what Spacestation could possibly do on this offense. Last time it worked out really, really well for them. Trying to make it happen twice.
Skies is going to be holding the far side of the upstairs portion of the map for his team and obviously falling back when the time comes. Spacestation are clearing out a little bit closer towards the art side, however. And you'll have Bosco specifically opening up the route to move in towards front door, then swing up the stairs from there. Catch the open floorboard, so we'll be cautious of that if he ends up going in through the front door at all here. And other teammates are going to be able to establish the positions against those top stairs players. Look, it's the ADS, so quickly we'll burn that out with the flashbangs on Thinking Nade. Down goes that utility. Another flash in, trying to leverage the drone utility to decide if they can maybe peek into that. They are able to fish out at least one of the smoke gas grenades, which is a pretty nice grab this early on, considering that Spacestation didn't have to push in at all there.
I'm just baiting Study, pre-fire from Bosco, threw some soft destruction into sight, so now he's got a line of sight there. Doesn't hit anybody, but definitely makes his presence known. Drone inside of 90, which Skies and Eclipse are currently near. Sky works his ways back into sight. Currently have 4 DarkZero members inside. Only one out is Eclipse, who's currently in benches, but rotates towards red stairs, which currently has Skies going down. So DarkZero trying to figure out exactly how they want to handle the Space Station offense. Really, their only means of travel right now is up main stairs, but having Thinking Nade alive and well is going to make that very difficult. Those air jabs more than likely already set up, so DZ's probably just going to have to try and stop Space Station at the door.
Nice lineup here for Bosco. Nice patience as well. Gets the lineup against Skies. Nice and easy to take him out. And once again, give SSG the 5v4 to open up the round with.
Very impactful for him. Plenty of information for Bosco inside of 90. Trying to find that Electro Claw is Rampy. Can he finally get it? He sees it, but he can't look up that far. Very difficult. Finally gets it so he can use some hard destruction here. No openings on the top of the wall. So Canadian should be pretty safe in order to get this. Shouldn't be impact tricked or anything of the sort. Always got to be worried about those. So that's going to go off. Rips up on the wall towards bar so they can possibly get a diffuser down behind it, but still plenty of presence in here from DarkZero. Again, Skies is the only one dead, 30 seconds left, so this could get traded back and forth any which way. Hypercell has a mute near him as well, so more than likely denying a little bit of intel, but Canadian gets a big pick. That's actually going to be Hyper inside of the corner, so now DarkZero doesn't have nearly as much control of bar as they need. Plenty of shots in towards Bust. Bosco's going to get another one. Gets traded, though. Canadian makes this even more difficult. It's all down to hot and cold. No more Toxic Babes. Actually has one, but it's not even going to matter. Space Station Gaming floods site, kills all of the remaining DarkZero members, and takes the round to make it towards match point.
Definitely one of the more successful attacker-sided rounds we've seen so far in this map, where attackers, for the most part, have been struggling quite heavily. Not so much the case this time for SSG, though, who get those great early kills, catching the over-eagerness from DZ to try and re-rotate closer to the site as we got closer towards zero timer. And ultimately, when push comes to shove, they do have the nice execute angle to completely swarm the setup from DZ and take it relatively without any trades against them either. It's going to go back to Plains and Games for potentially the last hold on DZ. I think it was close enough, and with just a few things getting patched up, they're going to be able to take the response and take us to a 6-6 scoreline.
DarkZero set up on the right side of the map. They set up correctly for this site. Make sure you have that extended hold over towards Trophy and Statuary and play that area. The only issue is that they didn't adjust when SSG just went for that one front attack. They just wanted to handle the main building that has this site instead of dealing with the entire map, overall. So they got 90 control, just made it to where no one could rotate through there safely, and then just went directly towards site, wasting as much utility of DarkZero's as possible, getting the walls open, and making sure that they could not rotate downstairs with the air jabs. The only way that DarkZero can really counter this, in my eyes, is play more aggressive down low before those air jabs get set up. Try and get those initial picks, because if you let Space Station take over the map, you're not going to get it back.
10 seconds left before insertion.
All right, guys. Well, for DarkZero, we'll see if they can make those adjustments.
5 seconds left.
And more importantly, keep themselves alive in this map. Otherwise, it is going to shift over into Space Station's hands, and we'll be at a 7-5 scoreline, meaning it's the end of the map. Space Station will take control along with that 1-0 lead overall in this series. if memory serves me correctly, this was DarkZero's pick. I certainly don't want to see that happen to them.
Was indeed, my friend.
Considering what is up next.
Yeah, better be ready for this. Well, Rampy going to be on the Ash. Looks like they're going to be going for the full clear this time instead, which more than likely is trying to shift things around so that DarkZero doesn't know exactly how they want to counter things, which is smart. Keep things adjusting, keep things moving so that whatever DarkZero has planned to thwart your previous plans aren't obviously going to work. This is going to take up a little bit more time than what Spacestation had the last time, so this could be where the difficult things come through, because as we've seen from both of these offenses, they're very slow moving. At least for Villa. The other maps that they've played in the past, they've actually been a lot faster. So I really think it's either down to just a respect thing or the fact that they just don't really know what's going on with the roam game of each other's teams on this map going up against each other. That could always be something to worry about. That's probably why we've seen Bosco on Jackal every single round on their offense.
Just trying to be extremely careful of the roam game right now with how impactful it's been. Not even necessarily at getting kills, but just delaying the round down to such a low time situation where far more often than not, the attacking side just doesn't have enough time to execute because they're so paranoid about a rotation behind their back.
You can see how Rampy is using his drones to make sure no one's peeking before he goes to kill that camera up the hallway. Just double checking everything. Drones are practically another life for you, so it's a smart way to use those. Gonna burn one ADS, impact down the hallway, gets a Goyo shield as well, so burning some utility early. Good utility usage here from Fultz, but still only has one impact. Doesn't have any more concussions. Use those to burn that ADS, so could be troublesome when it comes down to it if he wants to make those gunfights just a touch easier for any of his friends or himself. X-Kairos on the panels for planes now, as that's going to get open from Study. Impact the soft wall for Bar as well, as SSG is making things difficult for Sight.
Under 45 seconds remain. Spacestation do have all their players lined up, but it's another round where no damage has been done to anyone on either side at this point in the round, making it incredibly dangerous and on top of that chaotic for Spacestation as they get ready to move in. But it seems as though they've got good intel. Thinking Nade already able to isolate out one player as Skies is caught before the execute begins. Rest of the team ready to move in. Fultz is going to find good damage and drop Hyper into a down state. Won't fully kill him just yet though. We're now under 10 seconds. Canadian trying to go for the plant. Those smoke grenades not enveloping him. He's allowed to put it down onto the ground and should be able to get the diffuser down. Eclipse will eliminate Bosco though, just seconds after it goes down, and Canadian will find the trade to that as he eliminates Eclipse. Remember, Houghton still down as well, and he'll now be finished off by Fultz. Mint and Hyper, the two reigning players standing here for DarkZero at this point, gonna have to try and pull off the 2v4, but it's gonna be so difficult. Such a great post-plant position has been maintained here for Spacestation. The run out from Mint, it's been red, but no, Mint gets the better of it anyway, eliminating Thinking Nade. He's got 3 more players to go though, and only about 8 seconds to do it. It's not looking possible. The bait to try and get players off it, no one takes it. He runs out into the spray, and that's gonna be Spacestation Gaming taking control of map number 1.
Fantastic play from SSG to establish all those angles inside of sight and then get that diffuser down. The round was practically over when that diffuser hit the floor, and SSG with a great take on the Aviators and Games back to back.
Canadian popping off there as we saw. It's been his style so far this event. Intimidation over everything, and it's been working. DarkZero though, as you can see, largely ignoring that. No time for sad faces. It's time for serious ones. It's time to refocus, talk immediately about what was going wrong there, and get ready for that second map. The map which will be coming up in just a couple of seconds, guys, as we're going to send it back to the analyst desk to break down map number 1, and we'll be right back with you in just a few minutes with number 2.
Thank you very much, Stokes and Blue. Yes, indeed, a hot take on a hot match. That's a great start for North America here, at least in this second matchup for the day. DarkZero, Spacestation, really hitting up to say the least. Man, that 3K with the 44 mag, the Clyde was able to pull off in Aviator Games, which is beautiful. 2 double dinks on the head. I loved it. I think it really is the perfect allegory for this game so far. Jess, you're looking at it. We walked into this expecting it to be close, but SSG really had the advantage in the end.
Yeah, look, I do feel very heavily for DZ because had they have picked any other map, I wouldn't have been surprised. But they pick actually the best map to go up against SSG with. SSG has lost this more times and they've won this actually over 50% of the times that they've played Villa over the last 6 months. So the fact that they chose such a weak, statistically map for SSG and SSG still came out on top just shows how powerful SSG can be regardless of the map.
And Alex, you're looking at this to build on top of what Jess was saying. What was really the power thing, the power piece that SSG were able to bring to pull down DarkZero?
Well, I mean, starting defense on Villa is a power move in itself. DC stalling so much on their attack to start with doesn't help them either because it, you know, it puts you on the back foot and you have to be the ones coming back into the game, which is always harder. So you get, you know, Troy being hyped and being in the game helps his team immensely. They were really good with getting a few roams in and some quite late round counter pushes, whatever you might want to call them. I mean, DC brings it back and makes it even a couple of times, right? But it just wasn't enough.
For me, I think DarkZero went into every single round with a strategy of something different, something special. But SSG were always able to kind of break it apart. It was specifically I wrote down for round number 8. It was a top-down defensive living room for DarkZero, and they spread out completely on the bottom floor. They had rotation holes everywhere through the hallway into piano. Players set up top as well, and yet still, with all of that, it wasn't enough because the drone game, the communication from SSG, was always pushing them forward. Now, Jackal, for example, also played a big role in this matchup to push the defenders away, especially for DarkZero early on. What is your take on that, Jess?
Look, I'm happy that they took Jackal to begin with because I think on a map like Villa, you just can't check everywhere with drones and you can hide people down there. But SSG ran a rampy Canadian duo of the Pulse and they were so perfect with it. You can't ask for a better duo. And I was sitting there listening to the comms and he goes, "You're clear, you're clear, you're clear, hold here, keep going, you're clear." And the calls from Canadian were just perfect. So I think Rampy ran a show just having Canadian by his side. So I don't think it really mattered except for that one round where Skies was able to take them off guard.
And even then, I don't think it even really put a dent in SSG's stride. So good on them for that. I think that was a very, very big strength and probably the best duo roam I've seen in a long time. I mean, there was a certain point, Alex, where DarkZero started to fight back, and you could tell that this side of the room got a bit quieter and colder.
I mean, if you get 3K'd by a 44 mag, that's gotta hurt. There's probably 10 kills in Pro League with that gun, and we just saw 3 of them happen, right? So that kills the mood, at least for one round. I think DC going into next map, they shouldn't be too worried. They started on the harder side, and Villa defense is really what matters there. So next map, it's a little easier. They have more options. Maybe a few more shields for them could help.
So let's talk about that then. Kafe. Yesterday we were talking about Kafe, and then Goyo was removed. That was specifically against Latin American teams and NIP. Alex, I think you'll see that again here today.
I mean, they don't like shields, so yeah, that probably would be a pretty good idea. I still stand by the Nomad bans could help them quite a lot, but
true.
Removing a Goyo will have quite an impact on top floor, especially if we see some of those rotation holes being blocked with shields where you hide a few ADSs in piano. It takes a minute just to remove the ADSs because you don't want to flood it with flashbangs and just test if there's anything there. So you start droning it out and checking where all these ADSs are, and you spend a minute just to remove that, and then you have to start doing your execute, right?
Right. It's such a big map, you need to be quick, and we saw DZ stall out on last map, and I think if they do that again this map, it is just going to be their biggest downfall, even though I believe they are such a good and structured and coordinated team. If you're not fast enough with it, the time is your 6th enemy, and you will never outbeat it.
You know what we've been seeing a lot is a combination of operators on defense, on specifically Kafe, either defending bar or downstairs in reading, is bringing, for example, Mozzie, Goyo, Castle, and Smoke, and it'll have a Maestro, for example, in the end if you really want to hold on to long angles, or an echo of the Maestro's band. How do you deal with so much of that? Because you both have been talking about wasting time, right? Wasting as much utility as humanly possible. A final thought here, maybe to break the current meta game of operators in Kafe.
I think they're going to need to bring a lot of soft breach, a lot of flashes to get rid of ADSs. I've always said I want to see a Jaeger ban. I know that is your massive thing, Alex. That is your thing. But I think on a map like Kafe, if you got rid of Jaeger, you've already dealt with half the problem. The rest is things like castles, Evil Eyes, etc. And that's just soft breach. And both of these teams love their Zofia, their Ashe, their all of those soft breaching capabilities. So, yeah, I want them to use a lot of it, and I want them to use it effectively.
Final thoughts, though, do you think?
I mean, I'm all in for the Jaeger ban. It's not even like the fear isn't that you're gonna get naded by anyone. It's that you actually can deal with all the shields, the Maestro cams. You mentioned the Castle Goyo Maestro. You need to bring Ashe Sophia, or you don't have enough.
By the way, he's been talking about the Jaeger ban. Alex has literally been talking about this since Milan.
Yes.
So it's been almost a year, and this is.
And what happened when we saw it?
It happened, and it was very
beautiful.
effective in Raleigh, if I remember correctly. That said, do you think that this will be an SSG 2.0?
I'm going to say yes, because their best chance for DZ was Villa, and now I think anything's possible for SSG now.
I hope we're gonna see 3 maps, so I'm with DC on this one.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, no matter who loses this game, they'll still have another chance in lower bracket, but you always want to go forward. Who'll face TSM, SSG, DarkZero, Casters, all into you and Kafe.
Thank you so much, Milos. We greatly appreciate it, even though you still don't know Pokemon, which I still despise you for. DarkZero, SSG, Blue, it's Kafe, defender-sided map. Lots to do on the offense. What's your take on it?
Lots to do on the offense, indeed, for Spacestation here. A map which I think they'll be able to thrive in, given the way that they adjusted towards the end of the last map. They seem to have a much better lock on how to adjust their own strategies to better fit DarkZero's defense. It's really DarkZero that I'm worried about when they get onto the attacking side. They're the team that was really struggling to properly adapt to Spacestation's very close to the chest defense they were bringing to the table on Villa, and never were really able to make much of an impact except for on, I think, just one of the site's trophy statuaries, the only place where they were able to actually claim rounds due to the looser style that Spacestation was forced to play just because of the nature of that site. Bans are going on, though. We see Nomad along with Thatcher getting knocked out. Thatcher, of course, is coming in for the previous map. Nomad being very impactful at limiting rotates from the defender side on this map, so we'll see that dealt with relatively quickly. Maestro also being carried over from the last map, and, well, the same for Mira. So in at least 3 out of 4 of our cases, everything will remain the same from our first map.
We are going to have another Maestro ban, though, from SSG, so this has got to be just, hey, look, Fultz can play something else. We don't want you guys to have the gun with 81 bullets, so we're just going to keep this out of your guys' hands. We don't want to get eliminated from that. So that's how it's going to be. We're going to kitchen service and kitchen cooking first. In case you guys were wondering, the whole thing's called kitchen, but we have 2 distinct separate areas which have a bunch of different comms. You have prep, you have freezer. There's a bunch of rooms inside of this dang thing. But Smoke going to get taken out for DarkZero in place of a vigil, but no, this guy's going back. What's happening? Nope, he's going to hit the check mark one more time. He was just debating. It's fine. It's all good.
Keep us on our toes.
Yeah, keep us on our toes. Keep us honest. You know, keep us honest. Well, with that Nomad ban happening, thinking Nade's going to be stuck with Gridlock for the rest of the offense. Marcio, once again, observing. Thank you so much, my friend. You've been doing a beautiful job along with medics throughout this week and more than likely into the weekend as well. Unless Marcio, for some reason, stops doing well, then we'll make sure to tell him that. Gotta let him know. Again, keep him honest. Keep him honest. He gives me so much crap, man. He does. He really does. But in between these two, Spacestation is going to have a lot to handle on this offense. With Kafe, there's usually a pretty hefty roam game, which is why you saw the Nomad get banned out and why SSG is bringing that Gridlock. This map's extremely hard to attack. There's a lot to do. That's what I was referencing earlier. There's so much roam glare, so many angles that you have to open up for an attack to go successfully. So be looking to your soft destructors as well as this drone game initially when Spacestation gets on the field, which was just about 10 seconds ago.
I think this first half is going to give us a really good picture in terms of whether we should expect this series to move on into a third map or whether it will end here. If Spacestation takes good control on the attacking side and shows the capability to adjust around DarkZero's defense, like they were able to do with limited success back on the first map, then I think that we'll see the Spacestation 2-0 here. If not, though, if DarkZero finds prowess on their defensive side throughout the large majority of these rounds, I think it's a good chance that we may end up going over towards that third map. We're speaking very early days, though, so we'll talk much more about that much later into this map. Fultz with the drop down into red to start things off. As with pretty much every site on this map, you are going to see some type of resistance on the third floor, and that includes the first floor site. So just not wanting to let your attackers get control that easily. We'll see a little bit of utility thrown out there. That's going to catch Fultz off guard slightly, but it's actually Hot and Cold that strikes first from the defensive end of things, catching Rampy. They do have some idea as to where the Vigil is, but while that ECR7 electronics jammer is up, he's not going to be able to find his exact spot, as Skies, along with pretty much the entire DZ roster, are just going to rotate back down. They'll give up their positions upstairs.
I like this play from DarkZero because they have the Vigil. If they turn on the ERC7 backpack, it goes through the floor to the next level. If you're directly above him with the drone, then you could possibly think that he is actually in that second floor, and that's what they're going to try and confirm now. They're more than likely going to see Skies work in that ERC7 backpack. Haven't seen anything just yet, but that's probably the idea that DarkZero had. Just abandon ship. They still have a lot to do, still have a lot of soft destruction to handle with those vertical angles they want to make. There's only a minute and 12 seconds left. We might as well keep our man advantage because we already killed Rampy.
Fultz, in the meanwhile, now with easy control of mining, is going to be able to open up a pathway for his teammates and hopefully some info for himself by popping open those floorboards. At least that's what it looked like the plan was for him. He's out of drones anyway, so not going to be able to help out in that regard too much here, as both have already been wasted. Now thinking Nade will join him. That's what we were waiting on. The Super Shorty shotgun is going to open up the floorboard just a little bit more easily for these attackers instead of using that very powerful Zofia utility, which can be saved for late round to open up any pesky soft destruction that blocks them from their opponents. So opening up just a small angle for them to work through and chucking the track stingers down through it in order to start blocking things off from DarkZero's defensive side. And it works, as Bosco is going to be able to isolate out Skies, taking him down and trading us down to an even 4v4. Once again, though, time very low. They're only moving in with about 20 seconds left.
Oh, Bosco going to get rid of one of those yokais. 10 seconds left till the wall gets open. They're going to have to get aggressive here. Doesn't see the man in the corner. Is he able to get them both? He is. What just happened there for Mint? It's Spacestation all over the site, and they're getting Diffuser down. Hyper's the only remaining member. He has impacts. He can get rid of these track stingers to his right. But for the time being, SSG's taken over the entire site off of an extremely risky play. It was all up to Mint to shut that down, but apparently could not see through maybe Fultz's concussions or something. We saw those go off, but it must have had more effect on him than it did on our offensive player, Bosco. New lines of sight established here for Hyper, but Spacestation not giving him anything right now. They've already set up for the post plan, have people inside a prep kitchen. He needs to win this fight inside of the kitchen, but no, Bosco wins it out again, and that's going to be a triple for him on the round. Actually, I believe that's a quad.
I think so as well. The situation with Mint is really still kind of throwing a question mark up in the air for me. The only thing I can think of that would have justified why he just would have had no reaction to the push would be that he was flashed, but I didn't hear a flashbang go off or anything like that. So
I believe it was the Zofia concussions, because Bosco was concussed when he went through that wall. There's no Ella on the defense, so that had to be the only thing. And to be honest,
you could still kind of see through those concussions.
Yeah, but the issue is, here's the issue. Mint wasn't looking at the wall. He was looking to his right.
He was looking towards prep.
Yeah, so when he heard it go off, since he was already concussed, it slows your ADS. Well, excuse me, it slows your sensitivity. So he probably had to do 3 full, like, entire mouse pad pulls to the left in order to even engage in that gunfight. And instead, since it wore off earlier for Bosco, since he was much farther away from it, Bosco was able to get the kill.
Well, either way, Mint ending up in a very awkward situation does open up the attacking avenue for Spacestation. And remember, they were still opening walls with 10 seconds left, so that's coming off of, one, a lot of confidence in that late round situation. The just barely man advantage, which they actually lost as they were getting ready for the execute itself. It brought it down to a 4v4, and then I would imagine just good drone intel to make the execute as smooth as it was. Great stuff from Spacestation, though, as it's going to put them up on the board at 1-0 here.
The round really should have never happened, to be completely honest with you, because having Rampy die that early and not having the amount of vertical control as you regularly have on that execute, DarkZero, for all intents and purposes, should have won that, but they didn't, and those are the rounds that are extremely pivotal inside of these games. DarkZero needs to get back on the horse right now, because again, Kafe, defender-sided, you want to try and get at least 4 rounds. Anything less than 4, an equal split or anything, goes towards the offense.
So DarkZero defending the second floor this time, moving it up an inch. Spacestation still, like I said before, going to attack the third floor. Every site on this map dictates third floor control and generally a top-down clear. Shouldn't see a whole lot of action towards the bakery side push. Sometimes you'll see a little bit of action towards there, but not going to be the case on this round. Spacestation will just take standard control of the upstairs hatches, clear out third floor, and slowly but surely funnel their way down into the appropriate rooms to attack the site. Red Stairs control already in their pocket. And we'll see, thinking they throw the first of his track singers down on Red. Try and stop any potential rotate. And just to doubly make sure, they've got a Claymore up on top of those stairs too.
Yeah. Also, Fultz accidentally destroyed somebody's drone, so that'll do some damage to the drone economy. That poor little drone. Rest in peace, my friend. But Spacestation does still have some drone economy cut through, so should not have too much trouble getting some more intel upstairs and finding this man to the right. If you gonna look at Hyper? Are you going to look at it? Okay, cool. I was going to say, that is a very, very big piece to the puzzle if you're able to find Hyper that early on. They now know that at least one person is up here. Don't believe we had any drones on the man playing inside of Freezer. Oh, going to have a sneaky peek out here. Rampy wasn't ready for it. Aiming just a little bit too high. Pre-fire there from Hyper, but he's actually going to get lit up from Fultz, as you can hear that AK go off in the distance, or the M762. Don't have too much pressure now, but they do have some pressure in towards Freezer, so that person has definitely had to fall back. They've actually completely abandoned all hope upstairs and made their way down White of all places. I assume they dropped the laundry hatch, but that was not play.
Down to the last minute of play, Spacestation making a lot of progress on third floor control. They have quite a bit of it towards trains, trying to use Rampy's buck to isolate out players. He does spot one, just a little bit too slow to react and try to lock that player down. A member of DarkZero will survive. Hatch, first attempt to open it up coming in now. There are players that could have impacts on the side of DZ, but they do not want to take a risk on trying to trick that despite the openings in the floor at this point in the round. So no one will stop that from happening. Hatch is open. Access is given to Space Station, at least partially, but they're going to be timid to jump down. A lot of cross angles they could have, but Bosco through the wall finds Houghton, taking him out of the equation, and now setting up a +1 man advantage for SSG.
What a shot from Bosco. He's 5-0 on the game right now, and that's with that first round. So right now that KPR's got to be insane. Vision mines now, but Skies to thwart Bosco. Finds one on Red Stairs as Fultz makes his way up, and SSG makes their presence known on site. Need to get this diffuser down, though. Canadians starting on that. They have the Yokai drone. Oh, is he going to find it? He needs to. He looks the wrong way, but he gets him in the corner. Nobody there in time, and that's the power of Echo. Look where he's even seated. He's all the way downstairs in Bakery. Good luck finding that guy.
Not the first time we've seen an Echo drone end a round play, but also not the last time that we'll see it certainly as well here. Very impactful operator is the reason why we see it banned out more often than not, but at least with the series involving North American teams, it's been left in quite a bit this tournament. And as you've just seen there, the impact speaks for itself. No players on the site. Plant seeming like an assured thing. No longer the case, as the Echo denies it and runs the timer down to 0 for SSG's attack, tying us up at 1-1 and sending us to the other second floor site. In fact, as we're going to go into a reading room and a fireplace here as well.
Oh, 6 pick off the Ella, pick up the Echo again, which is what we saw that play on the last round from Hyper that won them mining and dining. So amazing play from him just to rotate downstairs. Hyper, somebody that's usually extra aggressive, but instead rotates downstairs to play his utility. Again, very smart play overall. For DarkZero, though, we're headed to library or reading room and dining. Do have the Goyo shield set up. Mint's going to provide 3 of those. I don't believe we have another shield in that lineup either. Jaeger doesn't have one anymore. The only other person or personnel that could have one would be Hyper and Eclipse. I can pull that utility off the top of my head. But something to notate just there for a second is that we do still have Rampy on that buck. Hasn't been too impactful so far, 0-0 and 1, but made those vertical angles to assist Bosco on that kill the last time. Skeleton Key is powerful on practically every single site, and that's why you see Buck brought so often, because he can play not only from above, but below. Rampy so far has been extremely impactful throughout this entire land for SSG, almost instrumental in their victories.
Fultz just spamming open the window here. We're proceeding upwards towards the roof. No surprises will befall them later on in the round. Same thing as the past two. We're just going to clear out these top hatches, swing in from the third floor, and go for the top-down clear yet again. Space Station, of course, getting very close and basically having the execute under their control. But now just need to deal with that Echo. So a quick adjustment for them, and then they'll feel confident in their capability to try and take control of this one. Put a second attacking round up on the board. Rampy swinging around the square skylight here. Try and see if anyone will present themselves from the angles on the top side of the cocktail bar, but Nothing going to pop out too early here. They do spot the players in the back of the cocktail bar itself.
Oh, that's a big pick.
Rampy's actually going to take out Hyper with one of the defender's own shields, and there you go. We talked about how they needed to hunt down the Echo early on in the round, and they've done just that by eliminating here on the 3rd floor.
I'm going to assume Rampy tossed a frag grenade in there, and ADS was not close enough to get it, but the explosive radius of the frag grenade was definitely big enough to get the shield. Another one in, going to get eaten up by an ADS. This entire setup from DarkZero on defense is made to burn utility, but instead they're burning kills and burning mags. Rampy dies, eventually getting traded out after he already got his first kill on the round. That was Eclipse. So Hyper and Eclipse both dead now. No more Echo, no more smoke. It's all down to more frag-based operators. We obviously do still have the Goyo and the Legion alive, but Legion can get played in practically any way you want. Those goo mines, definitely a nuisance. But look to Skies to try and get these initial frags. Plenty of drones, excuse me, from Spacestation already used on their offense. Do still have some utility, try and blind some people. We do have some smokes in play as well. Try and help them out, but not too much time here. If DarkZero is able to get this roam game alive and well once again, they could possibly actually thwart Spacestation from getting onto site. Do still have some drone game to be worked here, but Hot and Cold's already made his way upstairs, gets a kill, but not before Thinking Nade also gets one downstairs into pillars. Ready for the lineup, pre-fire here, Thinking Nade, 3 armor. Dance back and forth inside of this gunfight. Very tight angle for him with this ACOG. Looking towards the top of white, but not very much time, and that's all they're trying to waste. Hot and Cold doesn't think he's still holding the angle, but he most definitely is. Mint, the only remaining member, gets one. Oh no, he actually botches all the shots with the TCSG. Not this time, Mint. We saw it the last, but shotgun selling you out.
That's the difficulty of that gun. It has such a wild kick. It's so hard to control the spray, and ultimately with one missed shot, the rest of the magazine can also just go right into the wall behind your opponent, as we saw a good example of right there. The second attacking round going into the pocket of SSG now sends us back down into Kitchen for another attempt at this site by DarkZero. Once again, completely avoiding the sites that we traditionally see teams drift towards at the beginning of the match, which would have been upstairs on the 3rd floor, but at the moment, DarkZero yet to play it.
I'm positive that I can only say on broadcast half of the things that Troy said right there. I'm pretty positive. Only half of that sentence would be.
Only we had it mic'd up.
I mean, we do. You just got to go over to the ESL Rainbow Six Twitter. You can see all of it. It's amazing. It's a beautiful, beautiful piece of art. Make sure you guys are following them on Twitter.
It'd be great to jump into team comms right now.
Oh man,
was it? I think someone was tweeting about that earlier.
That we should have team comms.
Yeah, we should have listen-ins or something like that. I think it was Fox that tweeted it or something like that.
People would soon realize the amount of calls that are just like terrible.
Yeah, that's what Pengu like immediately about. I don't think that'll go too well.
There is some comms that are just very short, but you're just like, you can't say that. You cannot say that. We are gonna have a nice setup here from DarkZero though. You can see they made a rotation through Freezer towards white with some barbed wire, so you can definitely tell that this is probably going to be a horizontal hold. They're gonna try and hold this entire bottom floor, probably playing inside of VIP as well as the red hallway area. So, have to see what DarkZero is trying to do with this setup, and we'll get back to that later on.
The round continues on where we do have SSG spawned out, so they'll be rappelling up to the roof here over the next couple of seconds. Actually, scratch that. Not going to go for it for the first time. This is the one site where you can kind of have yourself split up a bit more. We are going to see some players make their way up towards the top, but right now Fult's just on top of the bakery portion of the building. Not necessarily trying to push in. It seems like Spacestation want to go for much faster control this time, so they are bypassing the top clear and potentially trying to go directly into the bakery and then the kitchen from there.
The Canadian and the rest of SSG making pretty good progress so far throughout this. Gridlock tracks down. That's going to be a lot as well. Trying to find the leader, but can't follow it. Nade getting a better angle with that ACOG as he's going to hold down North Windows. Rest of the squad, though, currently doing some work on the bakery wall. Bosco trying to soft wall this. Cuts through that metal piece, but going to extend it just a little bit farther. Are they going to attempt to soft wall this entire wall? This is going to take so much torch work here from Bosco, and he's only got 2 tanks left, 2 and about a quarter. Oh no, this is a lot of wall work here, folks, and if he dies, they don't have a single wall unless he's able to get all the way through it. Trying to make sure, down to 2 tanks now, but again, every single time that he makes a misstep, that's only more fuel. It really does feel like he's only going to get this one wall here. Oh, did it softball? It didn't. That is so troublesome for SSG. Trying to find where the last piece is, but here's the issue. You've made a bunch of lines of sight now.
They pinged it, so they do seem to have an idea as to where he needs to move towards it, but like you said, lines of sight have been set up here for DarkZero. Looking to try and prevent him from opening it in the first place. Another player going to peek out down the red carpet hallway, potentially get in the way of Thinking Nade. But Thinking Nade has been on top of this table for probably a good minute or so, still not being opened. So not sure what's going on for SSG. Not sure if they just can't find that last angle or if something else went wrong that prevented them from opening it. But either way, the softball not going to pop. SSG now has to go directly into the site unless they can figure this out over the next couple of seconds. They're no strangers to low timed executes. We've been talking about that all day here so far in this series. But this one's definitely going to be one that they'll have to adjust for at the very last second. Rampy with a nice find though, holding the White Stairs retreat, is going to be able to find the first pick for this team, eliminating Skies, and now Fultz just walking directly in through prep. They are going to take control as DarkZero does not seem too keen on contesting this. Mint goes unnoticed this time though. He's going to be able to sneak off one kill. Rampy and Bosco though trade out onto Mint, with also Houghton being eliminated in the process. First plant attempt going down. Hyper successfully rotates his way back in, however, but does not stop the plant from getting onto the ground. Spacestation Gaming get it in their favor. Now hold the 3v2 man advantage. Now 3v1 with the elimination of Eclipse. Hyper must do it all once again in a 1v3.
This is very troubling for DarkZero. It looked like they had it, but just did not rotate back to site fast enough, and instead SSG just goes right in through prep. Another shot. Hyper with a nice flick, but doesn't get the headshot. Enough bullets in that first one to kill him. Did not have very much HP, but it's an upside down rappel. This is practically impossible for Hyper. Canadian making some nice drive-through windows of prep. Little pop off there just to let him know. DarkZero, very, very troublesome water right now.
Very troublesome indeed. DarkZero usually great at adjusting to these mid-round situations and making the best of their opponent's mistakes, but right now, collapsing in so many different rounds and so many different scenarios. They just seem like a bit of a mess, to be honest, at the moment, and trying to counter out SSG. And this could very well lead itself to be a quick 2-0 if things don't get patched up soon.
The issue for DarkZero is that throughout this entire series, they kind of came out flat, right? But then they started to warm up about midway through Villa. We saw some crazy shots from Kyle. People were starting to pop off. Then the issue is that once they get into Kafe, their defenses aren't working out initially, which on Kafe, it's basically one of those things where like, yeah, this is a freebie. We just play the defensive side. We should finish it 4-2 at least. Everything will be A-okay. But now things are going wrong, and you can see the frustration on everyone's face because they're just minor things. It's not like they're just, oh yeah, we forgot to reinforce this wall. The setup wasn't correct. It's not those. It's just the fact that DarkZero, especially in that last round, just weren't able to get back to site. It's always some off-site presence thing that is messing up DarkZero, where SSG already has everything cinched down and they can't find their way back in. Because if you really think about it, Mozzie should never have even had a chance in hell to get back into site. Thinking Nade was holding his cross, he just barely missed the headshot. So this really has just been SSG having a very strong offensive round, or offensive half here. And DarkZero with the only round that they truthfully won being that very, very first. So even with that, second round on Mining Dining. Even with that first round where they were able to get the pick onto the Buck, which that should have been their round all day. All day that should have been theirs, but they didn't have it. All because Spacestation rushes site? That's not supposed to be happening.
Yeah, overall in opening duels right now, Spacestation are leading the charge at 3-1, with Bosco and Rampy picking it up on all three of those rounds. So DarkZero is another aspect where you're going to see them turn things around and try to hold better control over this series.
5 seconds to go.
Finally going to be trying the upstairs site here in Cocktail Lounge as we approach the 5th round of this map. Second to last defense being put up onto the table here from DarkZero. Castle being brought in for this one. First time that we are going to, actually not the first time we're going to see Castle brought into this one. We had it back in round number 2 where DZ was able to win as well. So we'll see if maybe that's the key. I doubt it's the decisive factor, but who knows? Maybe Eclipse just feeling a little bit comfy here.
This is what DarkZero does. They just do stuff like this with Castle. He's already used all of his utility. Might as well get aggressive with the ump and see if you can make some magic happen. And by God, they did. But Thinking Nade's going to trade it back immediately. Honestly, that's a kill for DarkZero. That's huge. Not having Fultz on the field, no more concussions, no more impacts. The only issue is now, though, Thinking Nade shifted off of the gridlock. Although,
he's gone over.
Still could be. So he gets a free phone. And now they have all the cameras, including the yokais that are set up inside of sight.
Means they're going to have a lot of advanced intel. The IQ not even really needed at this point, at least when it comes to countering out the yokais. They know exactly where they're going to be at all times. Huge disadvantage going to DarkZero, and now makes you start to question if whether that run out was truly worth it. Slow lead up here over these next couple of seconds, however. SSG kind of resetting positions slightly to re-engage over the next few moments. I'm certain they took probably a good 10 to 15 seconds to check those positions after they got cameras open to see what was still up and if they may be able to punish anything, while DarkZero was not aware of the fact that those cameras were stolen for a couple of seconds.
I feel like it's going to be a rough one for Hot and Cold. Got to drive those yokai drones back to yourself and just shoot them on the floor. It's like a drone version of Old Yeller. It's just not a good thing. Doesn't work out for you. Spoilers for everyone that didn't read that in elementary school, middle school, whatever. Anyways, DarkZero still wasting a lot of time though, even though they do have all that intel on the offensive side. DarkZero just rotated back to site and are just waiting for Spacestation to make a move. And this definitely could work out this time. Still plenty of mute jammers and everything out on the field as well. No Mozzie, so just Mint on the mute for info denial for the time being. But again, it's going to be very hard to have that much info denial when you do still have those active cameras. It can be used from the offense now, just for intel, obviously. They can't completely take over the yokai and sonar blast anyone on the defense. That'd be a little bit too crazy. Hot and Cold gets another kill for DarkZero, and that's Rampy. No more skeleton key here in these last couple of seconds. Gonna have an aggressive play here from Canadian as he's just worked his way into heaven. Some shots all the way downtown from Cigar. DarkZero still just waiting on this timer. SSG needs to make a move here. Canadian's currently locked inside of Heaven still as Bosco's on his window inside of Cocktail. They do still have one member inside of here. A swing though from Hyper, but SSG lights up the scoreboard otherwise and equalizes for this 2 versus 2. Works his way in now, but it's thinking Nade to die. Skies kills him. It's all left up to Bosco. He has a diffuser now, but he's going to have to get aggressive. Doesn't know which side he's on, doesn't pre-fire, and Hyper with the SMG-11 takes him down. DarkZero finally finding some space here on their defense.
Both teams giving each other so much respect when either one is on the attacking side, not wanting to try and force an engagement if they have a choice in the matter until very, very late into the round. That follows up for the defenders as well, who have been a little bit timid to get aggressive in their own right. At that time, locking down quite a few members of Space Station into positions where they know they're not going to be able to retreat. That's when they finally feel confident enough to swing out, shut down a few of those extra kills, and just maintain superior position on the site, and more importantly, in the freezer there towards the end, in order to lock in a W for themselves. A second round is finally up on the board for DarkZero. Potentially one more could come their way as they are heading back to Fireplace and Mining Room, just to try and close out one more round before the end and tie us up at 3-3 as they're getting ready to go on to the attack here in round number 7. One more away from that.
Well, as you guys can see, Fireplace is a site that gets used twice inside of these setups. You can either go Fireplace Mining or Fireplace Reading. It just moves that A site across. And actually, I forgot, this one is bugged. This one actually has 2 A sites.
Oh yeah, look at that, I didn't realize.
Yeah. I literally looked at the other one, I was like, oh yeah, that's A. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute, this site has...
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So either way, they're attacking A. Guys, let's just hit the site. What do you want to hit? I want to hit A.
I mean, to be fair, nobody actually like calls A and B for the most part anyway, so...
No.
Not a huge deal.
Yeah. I've honestly never heard team comms or been in a team that ever called them by the actual site.
I do it if I forget the name of it.
You know?
That's what I do, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. That's the main thing, though, right? Because eventually you just, like, oh, it's A, but on, like, the mid-floor site.
Yeah.
You know? That wouldn't be good. So, would definitely not be good.
Well, Space Station's out and on the board. Time to see their strategy for this one. We'll see if it's going to be the same as the last time they took the attack. Potentially not. Bosco already moving up to the side windows directly next to the site. Try and see if anything can reveal itself. Also has a couple of things to take care of. A couple of these castle barricades, which quick work for Bosco with those breaching charges, especially on the outside where there's no room to shoot him through the foot or anything like that, like you can on some of the inside walls where those barricades can be positioned at. First minute of that round having gone away. Space Station already moving in through the default hatches though, but they have not cleared out the upstairs presence from DarkZero themselves. You still have the 2 players sitting well into the back of Cocktail over towards the end of this 3rd floor portion of the map. You're going to have the dock this time as well from Hyper being placed in that position. First time I believe we've seen the dock come in for our defenders. We're going to see if maybe that ACOG M5 is going to give them a MP5, excuse me. It's going to give them a little bit more room to work against Spacestation on the attack as they try to clear these guys out.
SSG making a house out of Cigar Shop right now. X-Kairo's going off, so they're going to get a line of sight on the dock very soon, but Hyper already makes an adjustment and drops down heaven. No one watching new drop. Very, very important there. Could have had an early pick, but instead, they're going to have to go hunting once again. Still have plenty of soft destruction in the likes of Rampy. Started to find some kills inside of these rounds. Again, very influential over these rounds if Rampy starts to pop off. He's such a dangerous man when it comes to this buck play.
Bosco leading the charge here, trying to check around the corner. Takes out the pest to ensure his team can do appropriate drone work. And more importantly, try to get that drone back under their control if they want to use it later on in the round. And meanwhile, Fultz also just roaming around here, grouping up with the rest of his team as they make sure they have things cleared out. So now he can open up the hatch, giving his team access downstairs just below red. Potentially a drop-in angle too if things get a little bit dodgy. He's trying to blow all this opening could give them an angle that they need to try and find one of these kills, but at the moment, Bosco not actually checking the one that he just opened up. That's where the winning bid would be, to try and find a member of DarkZero, but yet to actually check it, so that opportunity has been missed. And once again, all 10 players still alive with 30 seconds left on the clock. Good drone work, though, does push Hot and Cold out of the site and opens up a relatively clear pursuit angle for Spacestation to try and get the plant down. Hotton readjusts his spot, finds Rampy, but on the attempt to escape back to the inside of Fireplace is picked off by Fultz.
Well, diffuser going down from Canadian. Thinking Nade gets yet another kill here. So DarkZero worse for wear now. Pre-fire from Fultz. He gets Skies, and the diffuser has been planted, folks. 2 versus 3 now for DarkZero to try and get in a post plant. Initial bullets don't hit anything. Canadian's already moved his way, but someone's sticking it. It's Mint currently inside. Is anybody holding his angle? It's Bosco from upstairs, because he can see him through that floor with the sensor. What a play here. Hyper tries to get aggro. Spacestation Gaming playing that so perfectly, all the way down to Bosco using his sensor on IQ to see when the person starts defusing the bomb.
Another 4-2 half-line score going to come in for these teams, and it is in the favor of Spacestation, truly putting DarkZero and their upper bracket run up against the wall if they don't correct quickly on their own attacking side. And like I said at the very beginning of the game, this, at least in my opinion, is the true test for DarkZero. Now, this is where by far they made the most mistakes on the opening map and made the most errors that are correctable as well. So it's time to see if they'll fall into those same pitfalls that tripped them up back on Villa, or if they've learned their lesson and have the strategy set up well enough for Kafe to take the win against SSG and take us over to that third map on Bank.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many bombs as
Switch sides now. DarkZero's defensive half just really not going the way that you would want. This is definitely a positive for SSG. There's a long road ahead of DarkZero to try and bring this back. We're headed to Reading Room / Fireplace Hall for our first defensive site for SSG. Plenty of info denial. The Mute Mozzie combo coming out, not going to be paired with the Vigil as we have seen so regularly throughout this entire tournament. Canadian's going to be rocking a shield though, but pretty standard stuff from this defense. Got the Valkyrie cameras for just a little bit more intel work as well. Switching over to the offense though, plenty of soft breach, hard destruction, and Mint for that flank watch with the gridlock track stingers. But we saw Spacestation doing the exact same thing. DarkZero needs to be just as successful as Spacestation, if not more. If they're more, then they could possibly win this on the offensive side. But again, very tall order when it comes to Kafe.
Especially considering again the defensive play has not been indicative of them being able to come back so quickly. Hyper leading the charge once more with the rest of the team following closely behind. They're going to go upstairs and pull off the same thing that we saw Spacestation doing, just getting that third floor clear done and following suit from there. Drones in from Hyper. He'll start checking out over here towards Christmas, looking for the setup from Spacestation. Try to see for ourselves what we've got from SSG, whether the lineup is going to be similar. And it does appear as though it is, potentially with a little bit more of an active roam towards those white stairs compared to what we saw from DarkZero themselves, who stayed more within close proximity to the cocktail bar and only pushed out later on in the round. Right now, though, it seems as though they've got their mute being played by Thinking Nade, ready to make a move at any notice. Could be Canadian as well. Silhouettes between those two operators are a little bit deceiving sometimes.
Lots of drone work for DarkZero. 3 people on drones in that instance. Hyper's going to get off and go to the roof. I believe that there's actually a pest inside of that hole in the ground that they made in the floor. That used to be something that people did with Ella a lot. You make a little bit of a soft destruction hole and attach it to one of the metal beams in the flooring. very difficult to get with Twitch drones and everything else. We're able to hide it under that floor, but plenty of info for DarkZero now. See the shield upstairs, but remember this is a mid-floor attack, and we're already halfway through this round. DarkZero needs to get things together here. Uh-oh, might have some trouble. Natural Cell downstairs, looks like it was pre-placed to bait something. Canadian's out as well as Bosco, I do believe. Everyone's outside, and they're gonna get 2.
Crazy stuff from Spacestation. Hotten's going to be able to trade one of them back, catching Rampy on the inside. Slight upstairs position maintained, and Skies also catches Fultz. It's evenly traded at the end of the day. Canadian does get dropped. Oh no, a nade's going to finish him off more than likely as well. It's a very long throw nade, but it does get the job done. Hard ping goes on to the player that threw it over at the top of the stairs. In the meanwhile, you do have one more player trying to rotate back up through red and catch DarkZero off guard, nipping himself past those track stingers. I believe he does go unnoticed, but that could be different than my own thought pattern here, as Hyper seems to be holding an angle to catch Bosco off and eliminate him.
Ooh,
no.
You gotta love these.
Bosco's so close to catching a player, whether he realizes it or not. He's gonna have to wrap to his left. If he goes the other direction, he could find himself into a pitfall and walk directly into Hyper's POV. There you go, Hyper with the lineup, catches him first. The hunter becomes the hunted. Bosco goes down, thinking nade, sits as the last man standing and hot and cold. It's a camera to the face in order to end the round, giving it over to DZ and starting off their attacking side right.
That's truly terrifying. When you're so close to somebody and you have no idea. Fantastically played by DarkZero on that offense. We're actually able to get a lot more top pressure than I originally had assumed with that timer, but SSG just really throwing everything at the wall and hoping it'd stick when they all dumped out the windows, as well as from the door downstairs in pillars. So had 3 people outside at one point in time, and honestly, that's where everything changed for SSG. Since they bailed from those windows, DarkZero had immediate top control. Just use your soft destruction, break up the flooring, got the kills on everyone trying to come back inside. Overall, a great round from DarkZero, but I feel like if SSG just holds on to the upstairs, it makes DarkZero fight for it instead of just hopping out the windows to get the kills and getting greedy. I feel like they win that round.
My thoughts pretty much exactly the same. Seemed like a bit of a strange move, to be honest, from Spacestation, given what had happened up until that point. But they've got a lot of confidence going in their favor right now, so we won't fault them for it too heavily at this point. We'll save that for when DarkZero potentially gets 2 more rounds here. We end up in that 5-4 situation. It's DarkZero on a little bit of a run now, but only 1 round, so it can be very easily broken by Spacestation on this upcoming encounter. Spacestation, of course, playing into the kitchen, of course. If you haven't already noticed that for yourself. And in just a second, we'll have DarkZero's squad spawned out, ready to make a move against it. Now, we do not have any way to deny wall openings, which means that if we'll see the DarkZero roster try to go for quick entry to the inside of the bakery and try to get the prep wall and or the main kitchen wall open, they can do that without really any issue. The only thing they'd have to do first is clear out this side hall and eliminate the 1 player from Spacestation. I believe it is Fultz who is holding on the inside of Kafe.
Well, SSG not going to be nearly as aggressive with their castle as we saw DarkZero be on their defense, where they were just throwing it to the wind and hoping something would stick. Really, really did stick, though, when it came to Eclipse and that hop out. Only issue was that, obviously, that last time there was a Dokkaebi that got a free phone. For DarkZero now, though, as previously stated, we are attacking Kitchen. It's going to be a full map clear here from them, so they want to keep that drone economy lively and avoid all of these Mozzie pests that Canadian has set up for them. Remember, if those are stolen, you can't get them back, and that is a huge, huge issue. Instead, going to get some assistance from Hot and Cold, who allows access for that drone to go down white. They've already droned out all of the upstairs, so good work so far from DarkZero, but now is where the trouble comes. Spacestation Gaming does have some members of the squad on this mid-floor, if those silhouettes aren't true. Again, we are looking at kind of a weird, awkward angle here, so they could definitely be downstairs, but as we get an actual straight on view, they actually have all control. So DarkZero in full control of the first, well, from the top down, first 2 levels of this map.
And as we stay on his perspective, is going to continue to deploy those track stingers, using his last one there on red 1-2. We'll block off that angle for any Space Station shenanigans that they may try to do in the late round, trying to prevent, I think, what happened in the last round. But now, with a lot of this cleared out, they'll open up angles from up on top of mining, trying to see if anything can Spacestation's setup will become much clearer by this opening, but so far, not the case. And even worse, Canadian finds a lineup, I believe, through that hatch opening there to be able to eliminate Hyper.
Awfully nice of Canadian to call his friend every once in a while. That was a nice play there by him. But Nitrocell is going to claim Hyper. DarkZero now worse for wear. They still obviously have hot and cold up, so they can use all of that for the soft destruction on this floor, but that timer, oh, that timer. Time waits for no man. It's continuing to tick down. They need to get in towards site. Track Stingers all set up. Barbed wire's been destroyed, so they can start working their way down these staircases. They do have Skies that currently lands on top of Freezer. He's worked his way into sight. There's a rotation hole here. Somebody's bottom is white as well. We're actually going to have our first gunfight. Eclipse wins it out against Thinking Nade. Goomine in his foot. Diffuser down now, though, as Foltz gets a kill. Bosco's working his way up close. Almost wins it out with the ump. Pre-fires, gets him in as the repeat comes through, and SSG all over this attack. Defenders win, and SSG 1 round away, taking this all the way home.
The value of soft destruction in this series just really hasn't been there, in my opinion. We've seen so many rounds from both teams, DarkZero and Spacestation, where they try to play almost entirely around those top-down openings from a Buck or Sledge or something else, and they just don't really get anything from it, at least not until they can get to a post-plant scenario. These plays to try and eliminate players or force them out are just not really working right now from the attackers. I think there might need to be a bit of a trend shift for these teams going deeper into the tournament, because it seems as though everyone has figured out how to avoid it, at least in the case of these two teams.
Yeah, exactly. And in typical Rainbow fashion, it really seems like they're just wasting 2 minutes and 30 seconds and going, guys, we have to get onto site and just try to funnel into places. And that's why you just see the kill feed lineup, because all of the angles are already held. SSG really doesn't have too much to worry about unless something amazing happens on DarkZero's and, like, I don't know, a double kill from a 44 mag, you know, stuff like that. But for all intents and purposes, Spacestation should be winning rounds like that, and that's why they are 1 round away from being able to close this one out. So, got to get 1 more round to hit that 6, then 1 more after, obviously, to hit the 7, which would be crazy to beat them on Kafe 7-3.
Kafe looking more and more secure for Spacestation in the series along with it, but DarkZero not a team known to go down without a fight. We'll see once again what the adjustment shall be from their own side. Operator lineup looking relatively similar to what we've seen from both sides so far in this tournament. In fact, it is again the same exact thing that has been brought to the table on the previous 2 rounds by DZ. No changes at all to their operator lineup, despite the mixed bag of results so far at 1-1. One round being won by DarkZero on the initial, and the second one, most recent, being picked up by SSG. Houghton, along with the rest of DarkZero, now spawn out onto the field, though, and over the next couple seconds, we'll see the players take up positions on the 2nd and 3rd floor to slowly start control, pushing in to clear out that roam setup from SSG.
Drones in. Drone game started for DarkZero to clear out this top floor, but Spacestation, actually, this time's different. They have people up here. So, Spacestation's going to have 2 members upstairs. It looks to be at least 1 SAS operator. Could be Thinking Nade or Canadian. We really don't know, but well, as soon as we switch to the defensive operators, we can actually see their names. Thank you so much. So, yep, actually, it's Canadian and Rampy upstairs. So, going to be playing aggressively with the smokes. They also have light completely cut off so that Rampy, or excuse me, Hot and Cold, can't make any holes into where Canadian is currently setting up. Nice little bunker over near the side of Cocktail for SSG. Let's see how DarkZero tries to handle it, though. Still need some drones in, plenty of ADSs up top to burn a lot of DarkZero's utility here. That could definitely put them into a bad spot.
Round timer continuing to tick down here. Already just about half of it gone away. See Eclipse ditching real quick there. After a little bit of spray back comes in for the members of Spacestation through the window. Hyper, in the meanwhile, is going to move forward through bar in order to take control. Flashing, going out against Rampy, but remaining constant regardless, while their smoke being played by Canadian holds the other end of the equation. Stun charge going to go in. It does impact directly on top of Rampy, yet no one's been able to find the lineup just yet. Bosco and Hyper, there we go. Hyper takes him a while, but he does finally get that kill onto Rampy, and now Canadian will ditch, having used all of his smoke charges in the meanwhile.
Well, they need to get this execute down on site. Now Hyper opening up a pathway so they can cross to heaven, and that's exactly what he's going to do. Just trying to take an untraditional path so that somebody's not ready for his gunfight. Russ's SSG is on the mid-level right now, so we get a great purview of that from our member inside of Mining. Drop down to the middle floor now as Skies will be opening up the castle barricade for reading. They don't have anybody else to get those. I'm going to assume Hyper and Hot and Cold have both used their explosives, so it's going to be all down to Skies to open that with some hard destruction instead. That does open up that entire panel, by the way. Does not just open up the top like Thinking Nate opens up the top of Hotten's head. Skies falls as well. SSG is all over this offense once again. They have him from every single angle. This gunfight's very important, and Hyper wins it for the double kill. This is down to a 2 versus 3 with only 10 seconds left, folks. Hyper is going huge right now. That's a triple for him. They need to find these last 2 members, though. They know where the Canadian is. He dies. Eclipse gets him. They can put it down, but Thinking Nade with an SMG-11 burst shreds through both, and the SSG ends up winning a round after no intel on the mute.
It's a burst to end it, but a birth for Thinking Nade into that round as he destroys the remaining setup from his opponents. DarkZero now pushed against the wall, at least as far as their upper bracket run is concerned. And Spacestation one more round away from an upper bracket final against TSM.
Gotta love when your mouth just quits out on you, don't you? Just right at the end of the shoutcast, you're like, yes, I made it all the way through.
Except for that.
Psych, you thought, that's... It's like when you're in those 1v4s and you're down to like the last guy and then you botch the shot. That's exactly what it is. That's how it feels. It's like, wow, okay. Anyways.
Hyper certainly frustrated about that round, picking up so much extra work here. The triple kill from him on it, but his team still not able to leverage the win. Once again, Chaos getting the best of DarkZero, not having any time left at the end of the round to figure out where Thinking Nade was playing from. So they end up just walking right past him, none the wiser to his spot, and he lines up a very straightforward double kill to close it out. 6-3 is the scoreline. Spacestation on match point.
Truthfully, they almost had it, and the sad thing is that if, I believe Hyper was a couple seconds or even a second behind where his current positioning was, he more than likely kills Thinking Nade because he has to dump that whole mag to kill Eclipse through those walls. Obviously, bullets traveling through walls in this game makes them do a little bit less damage, so it would have taken most of the magazine probably to kill him, unless he got that headshot, and then Hyper just quickly flicks and probably kills him through that wall. So very unfortunate there for DarkZero that lineup happened, but now they have to get 3 rounds in a row on the offensive side of Kafe, otherwise SSG is blasting off again.
Further and further into the tournament. If you saw the tweet from Parker earlier, you'll know it. We are already guaranteed a North American team in the grand finals. It would be one of these 3 between DarkZero, Spacestation, and TSM, with TSM already having the upper bracket final spot secured from their earlier match. However, now it is time to decide what our second potential grand finalist will be between DarkZero and Spacestation, and as it obviously would seem by the score, Spacestation definitely has the edge on that for right now. Once again, though, DarkZero not going to give up without a fight. Drone presence has been thrown in, having to be very careful about these pest positionings. But unfortunately, the one on the inside of the floor is going to catch the drone swinging through. It looks like they got it back, too, so Spacestation does have that nice little piece of utility to use later on into the round here. Thinking Nade going to steal that away as soon as it gets stolen.
Gotta love it when you get free utility, free real estate as those drones when they pass through those doors, and Thinking Nade gonna continue to grab those. Even getting one is so influential. Hot and Cold gonna find one inside of the bathroom. Thinking Nade caught on his phone. That's why you never text and work, folks. Gotta be dangerous when people are sending bullets at you. Oh, what a flick from Hotton to get rid of that nitro cell as well. So no phone call possible for, I believe, Rampy any longer. Hyper gets rid of a camera. They are all over this top floor. This has got to be the easiest kill of Hyper's career, but no, it's actually Fultz upstairs, and he dips and dashes downstairs. Hyper catches him, though. What a read from Paul. Nice headshot as well, just to put some icing on the cake. Minute 15 seconds with all of this top control. No drones for Hyper anymore. Has that soft destruction, though, and Hot and Cold as well with the skeleton key will begin working that floor.
Fortunately, a misposition there from Thinking Nade is going to cost the team big as it opens up the rest of the angle. Getting caught on his phone in a very exposed position. I was kind of curious why he was sitting there in the first place. We can talk about that at the end of the round. Now going to try and open up, but Rampy sends Eclipse flying into the bookshelf, as there is going to be another successful nitro cell coming out from SSG.
That landing could not have been any more perfect. That is something else. That's going to be Eclipse, though, so IQ off the field. More than likely the rest of the Valk cams as well as those goo lines going to stick around. Canadian getting aggressive. Somebody's on the Valk cam inside as well, but he's getting shot from upstairs. It seems like the entire world is coming down on top of him now as Hyper goes for a double. Tries to hit a flick as Bosco, but can't get too much. As Rampy, I believe, is transitioning all the way downstairs to try and get a nitro cell to go off when they go for this default plant. Bosco needs to try and stall for some more time, though. They haven't begun setting down this diffuser just yet, but Skies will change his mind quickly. Quick shots. Hyper going to take quite a bit of damage, but a pre-fire through the smoke bags Bosco a kill. He gets immediately traded. It's all down to Rampy to try and secure this round and secure this victory for SSG. As he transitioned his way upstairs, he's going to have a lot of soft destruction that he can use through this flooring to try and pick up some kills, but he's on the timer.
Also, so much time being wasted as he has to tread past. Oh man, an immediate denial on the hop out as well. But yeah, had to tread past the track stingers, and I think as soon as he goes past those and we hear the grunting sounds of the damage being taken away from the Valkyrie, the players on DZ have a very good idea about what is happening there and quickly counter it out. They'll survive for at least one more round, catching on the bad positioning that we had on at least one player from Space Station and the over-eagerness to trade it back from a few of the others. Top-down play from DZ finally yields results against that second floor attack, giving them their 4th round. Very close affair now at 4-6, but remember, with 6 being the round before the map is over, we now need to see DZ run these next 2 without a single mistake being made along the way.
Then Kinade shifting on over to Kaid again, getting rid of the Valkyrie, pick up the Cade. Try and make things work with that TCSG. We've actually seen quite a bit of Cade throughout this tournament, if I can talk. I'm stuck between calling him Kaed, like Milos does, and calling him Kaid, and my brain just like cannot make up its mind.
I still don't call him Kaid either. I still just call him Cade. Most of the time, to be fair. That's just easier for me a lot of the time.
Yeah, just call him.
I still have to adjust.
Just call him the name Cade. It's fine. Stick with that. But
I know it's wrong.
Yeah, it's whatever. It's like saying Caviera, because it's like half of NA says it.
I just say Cav. I don't even try that one.
Cavera is actually the proper pronunciation.
Oh no.
Cavera is the proper pronunciation, Stuart. I just got stared down.
Someone from Ubisoft just walked in and stared at us as we were saying the names of the operators improperly.
Just it's like you say it.
Immediate correction.
Right. You say
it is required.
Right. We're not doing this again.
All right.
What timing? What timing from that? But DarkZero still has 2 rounds to find on their offensive half. Made a good play the last time. But anyways, what I wanted to say about Kaid being played a lot this tournament, we haven't been seeing very much Bandit. And I really feel that's just due to the fact that when you put Bandit batteries down, they're kind of a fixed position. You know, you can really only move them along the wall. You can't put them on the ceiling, can't do anything crazy like that. With the Electro Claws, you can. And I really feel like that's been influencing the Thermite bans that we've been seeing more frequently at this tournament, as opposed to where we really don't see Thermite bans that often.
We've got Houghton moving in very quickly. He's going to take out a little bit of the floorboard in the process. Once again, opening up the potential for that top-down play from DZ that has had mixed results so far. As long as Space Station doesn't feel pressured, they're normally not getting tripped up by these angles that Houghton is opening up. Space Station, you have to give them credit. They've been masterful at dodging these holes, or even better yet, using them against DarkZero to get kills in their own regard. This time, though, they actually are going to down Rampy, but he won't be finished off due to the fact that the Nitro Cell killed Houghton, who was aiming at Rampy during that engagement.
Very lucky break for Space Station, and this might be the round that they need here. For all intents and purposes, Hyper is going to lead the charge as he walks down red. Goomine's out for Canadian. Another kill here could be the end of DarkZero. Hyper's going to back up immediately, though. Does not want to try and lose his life too early on, at least without having someone there to be able to trade him. Space Station, though, wasting a lot of time, and that Nitro Cell definitely helped him out quite a bit. No dock, so Rampy's going to have to stick to that HP. Breaching charges now for Eclipse as he's breaking up all this flooring, and that's the main issue. They've killed Hot and Cold. No more Skeleton Keys, so it's all down to breaching charges as well as Hyper's impacts to make the maximum amount of soft destruction through that flooring.
Got Eclipse.
Oh, that's got to be reinforcers.
Oh, there's the pink. Oh, it's not! Oh, okay, so at the very minimum, the spam does force him out, but ultimately Mint is going to be able to get the kill against Fultz to finish him out. Very, very close indeed. Mint does the job, though. In fact, that might have been able to do a completely separate player, as Rampy has also been lit up quite heavily, too. He's down at just under 25% of his health pool. Eclipse and Skies in the meanwhile looking to rotate. Oh no, Canadian is going to run into Eclipse at a disadvantage. Didn't even have his gun up, but is still able to get the correction in time in order to pick up the kill. Space Station are getting away with so much here. It's getting dangerous now for DarkZero. They do have a slight pinch though, so there still could be some success from them. But Canadian, he makes an aggressive move right now. Now would be the time to find impact. He'll start to wrap around in the meanwhile. 10 seconds remaining. Rampy with the next pickup on Hyper. Down to Mint and Skies. Both are one-shottable as well. Canadian moves in to finish off the job, and SSG taking on round number 11. 2-0 in their favor. They will move on into the upper bracket finals in the matchup against TSM and send their opponents from DarkZero down to the lower bracket.
Well, we are guaranteed an all-NA winners final, and obviously that means we're guaranteed an NA representative in grand finals. So great winners run from Space Station Gaming so far, and especially TSM as well. But DarkZero is going to be the first of these 3 remaining NA representatives to head down to the losers bracket after not the greatest showing over these last 2 maps.
A lot of play going uncountered, not meant to mention the individual part of it. Some great play coming out from players on DarkZero, but a lot of the rest of the roster, unfortunately, just not hitting their shots today, costing them this match in just 2 short maps and allowing their opponent, SSG, to move through further into the upper bracket.
Well, as you guys saw in the Kafe, the best way to explain it was DarkZero just did not have the best defensive half to start us off. Space Station, very, very good offense, and that's really all we have to say about this, folks. We got some people that are dressed up probably a lot nicer than us to explain this to you guys, so we'll toss it right on over to them.
Thank you very much, Sam, and yes, indeed, we are way better dressed than you are, though we don't know as much about Pokemon than you do. So there you go, it's a 50-50. We can kind of trade it off in there. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, hell of a game. Space Station with a 2-0 victory against DarkZero. It seemed like Space Station's action, their activity this game, and just their heart was poured into it. DarkZero seemed literally silent.
Yeah, it was a shame. SSG was extremely animated throughout that entire matchup. The calls were actually on point every time, and you could see multiple times throughout. And to our beautiful observer, by the way, thank you for catching that. They were able to show the moment the hot drones came in, everyone was waiting for the ping came out, and SSG activated, and they're able to get those kills almost instantaneously. So I think that beautiful bit of droning really helped them, but I think DC also had a bit of a bad day.
We talked about it while watching that, at least on Kafe, about half of the times any player in DC died, it was while backing out or moving. And I don't know what the point is, if they're trying to get to a safer spot, or if they just want to, you know, group up as a team and then try to fight in 2s all the time. But it doesn't help if every time you get into an engagement you try to run away and you start getting shot from that. Like at some point you're going to have to start taking the fight. You're much better off chancing that 1v1 than you are potentially getting shot in the back, because there's nothing you can do about that.
Something SSG were not afraid to do when they were on the defense here on Kafe. It really seemed like the entire time, especially when SSG really got down to their attacking side, that they're able to break things down on DarkZero. DC, as you're saying, they try to take engagement, they get 1 kill, they do some damage, and then they run away, get shot in the back. How is Space Station even preparing themselves and preparing all the players to get those frags so early and so quickly to blindside their opponents?
I think it's really exciting that we got to watch a lot of the, or hear a lot of the comms, because that really complemented my understanding of their use of hot drones. I think DZ is far more skilled at hot drones. Their Zofia player is just always consistently 1.5 to 2 meters behind that hot drone. I think that's a level of skill that you can't teach someone. It's just game sense. But I think SSG uses the intel far better than DZ, and that's why they're able to capitalize all the time.
I mean, when we talk about comms, we could hear it from here. We could damn well feel it. There was a different level of energy on SSG. They get a good start on every map, and then it just never really stops from there. Every single time they have a good round, there is banter right after, and there is a ton of energy. While DC looked a little bit more quiet for the whole series, and I don't know. I don't know if that is a byproduct of not having rounds up at any given moment, or if it's just the more calm nature. But looking at them after the game, they're not happy with the performance.
Yeah, and one thing that really kind of positively surprised us by watching here or listening at SSG, there was a certain one round where they were trying to break into Bakery, and they were having problems with the Maverick, trying to break into the wall. And one of the players was saying, you know, I'm messing it up, I don't know how to do it, help me find the mess up. And once SSG won the round, Canadian turns around and is like, it doesn't matter. You wanted us to go in, we went in, and we got the round regardless. And that's something that clicks in your head. You have your teammate that's sitting right next to you there, your IGL, and it's just tapping on your shoulder saying, it's okay, we got you. We're here with you.
Yeah, and that's something you and I spoke about. And
Yep.
I think that was such a key point because for me, psychology is such a huge area of gaming and it's really unexplored. And I think a huge shout out to Canadian. A lot of people think he's the hype man, he's the one that gets everyone hyped. But he's also the guy, and you don't see it till you get to watch it live, that turns around and says, you couldn't do the Maverick thing you were meant to do, but that's okay. And that's really, really okay that you couldn't do it because you tried. That was your job, you tried, and that's okay. Next round, we'll do it better.
Yeah, and you let me know that you could.
And you
Exactly.
let me know.
That's really the important thing there is. If you tell your IGL, I can't do this,
Yep.
fine, we find something new to do. But no one's going to go and beat you down because you couldn't get that job done. We'll find something different.
Yep.
Exactly. Well, let's put up our bracket here and just show you where we are so far. Yes. TSM 2-0 against Fnatic and a 2-0 for Spacestation against DarkZero. It's TSM versus Spacestation in the upper bracket final. That banger of a game, we won't be seeing that until Saturday. So this is the big advantage that you get for winning everything. You get less games, you get more time to practice, to relax, sit back, enjoy the show, and sleep, prepare yourself. That's the disadvantage of the lower bracket, which DarkZero will be dropping to. They'll be facing off against the winner of NIP versus G2, and then Fnatic are waiting. MIBR versus BDS, winner of that will play them. Reminder, those 4 teams that are way at the bottom, if you lose your game today, you are out, and those are the last 2 remaining for the stay in the lower bracket. Well, back here, let's have a quick chat then. We have some time to kill before our next game, so why don't we chat a bit about this game? Looking at the way that SSG have been going through it and how TSM have also been super active in their matchup, this big clash between the 2 teams, how is it going to be? Because now we're like, TSM, Gunners, they're all in for it, hyper active, they're always talking. SSG, very calm, analytical, but they're not afraid to scream their hearts out when they're ready for it.
Yeah, I think the mentality on both teams is just insane. I do want to say that I wasn't aware that TSM was so calm and collected. You watch these players and you think, on screen, they're so aggressive, they're so capable, they're just pure gunners. And you watch them live and there is not a sweat breaking on any forehead whatsoever whilst they're doing this. So I wonder how they just sit there, gun themselves through everything and go, how you feeling? Good.
They look kind of indifferent if they were winning or losing a round. It didn't seem to faze them or matter at all. And I will say TSM has probably looked like the strongest NA team we've had so far. So them going up against SSG, that's going to be a whole different story for SSG.
Yeah, a reminder for everybody watching at home is that both TSM and SSG were playing against one another in Group B, so it's very possible that we might see a repeat of the matchup that they had, which was a 2-1 victory for SSG against TSM. They played Consulate Bank and Kafe Dostoyevsky, and it was, 7-3, 7-3, actually 7-3, 3-7, 3-7 for that victory at SSG. So, yeah, it's possible that we have a return, or maybe the stage will be something different to handle, because playing on stage, big or small, is definitely something that adds more stress to you as a team, but then playing on literally the biggest stage in Siege ever.
Yep.
That has to be something completely different. And we've stood on it, but it's different being there playing for so much cash and so much clout.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you're on a stage like that, and myself, I didn't even make it there last year. I was behind a different desk than I am this year, of course, and even behind the desk just there, you sort of think to yourself, okay, this is big, this feels big, and when you make a mistake, you can see the team overthinking it way more than when you're at boot camp, when you're at Pro League and everything, and I think that's playing on a lot of these players' minds.
I think there's very few people that feed off playing on the stage because it is kind of daunting and scary. But there are a few people out there who they are more comfortable.
Yep.
If they are on a stage, the more people that are there, the better they play, the more focused they are. But I think for most, you gotta kind of just imagine it's just you.
Yeah.
Yep.
in my opinion, it's like mostly Latin American teams that have been more comfortable with it. You know, no matter which event we went to, you know, especially when we were in Brazil, the amount of, I mean, you were standing there in the middle of it all.
I still have hearing damage from that event.
Your body's damaged in more than one way, Alex. Let's just say that.
Oh no.
So, yes, it really is something that you feed off of when you're just so focused into it, so much, loving it so much. So, something to keep in mind as we move on into the tournament. So, we still have 2 more games to go for today, ladies and gentlemen. So, I guess we can leave you at this point, right?
I mean, yeah. Why
Anything
not?
else?
Say goodbye to everyone.
Sure.
Give them a break.
Alex?
Sounds good with
We
me.
all want a break to not see Alex's face for just a game, so I think we'll all be good for that. Thank you very much. I'm going to get punched right after this. Ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, I have plenty.
Oh, after we
Inappropriate. We still have 2 more games to go, though, ladies and gentlemen. So let's cut to break, and we'll be back in around 45 minutes. That'll be Veli, Devin, and, of course, Dev Marta for game number 3 here in lower bracket. See you at SI.